Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the MHA What If with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Had an Invisi-Sword Quirk? All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. The bell rings, and the other students began making their way out. That took a while. I thought the others would never stop talking. Takura Miyashiro, third-year middle schooler, gathers his belongings, including his pokecom, his pencil case, and his backpack. Wonder if Shinji's waiting for me? Senri said she'd have to study. Takuru left the classroom out into the halls on the first floor, and came face to face with someone. Yo, Takuru. How was class today? The boy walked up to Takuru, who turned to him in turn. His name was Shinji Itu, a friend of Takuru's. It was bearable. The other students just wouldn't stop talking. The teachers need more DSPLN and ways to get a hold of their classes. How about you, Shinji? Takuru replied. He always had a strict sense when it comes to students who step out of line, and an even bigger distaste for authority figures who couldn't fix that. Well, if they were talking, I sure as hell didn't care. Hey, it just means we get off the hook easier, right? Shinji said. He's laid back when it comes to classes, so it's a miracle he became a friend of someone like Takuru. Take things seriously, Shinji. You almost screwed up my sleep schedule, and we weren't even past the first month of the year. Takuru reminiscences about a time early in the year, when Shinji requested help for studying for a big test. It was surprising there was one so early on. It went on into the night due to Itu's rambling about the latest trends and games. And what, give the old geezers the satisfaction of me becoming a model student. No thanks, that's your role, President. Shinji dismisses Takuru's statement, as he refers to his position as newspaper club president. Hey, you joined the club of your own free will. Don't fall behind when the end of the year is coming. That it's only, 2 weeks left, right? Hey, that reminds me, Takuru. You still gunning for that dream? Shinji says as he looks at Takuru intently, waiting for an answer. Takuru took a second to respond, but before he could, someone else joined the two. Why couldn't Nono just handle things for me? The short, pink, long-haired girl joins the duo, making it a trio. Senri. I didn't see you there. Takuru turns over, surprised by Senri Minamisawa's sudden arrival. She has a habit of showing up like this. Hey, guess that means I should head out. Third wheels don't do so hot, right? Shinji says, intending on teasing the two. While the trio were tight together, Shinji has a habit of teasing the uptight model student and the short pink-haired girl. Oh no you don't. We still have to discuss our futures, didn't we agree to that? Senri, unfazed by Ita's attempt, keeps him from leaving. Ga right? Men's so strict. Doesn't she remind you of your sis, Taku? Itu directs the question to Takuru. Taku is a nickname that was given to him by his foster sister, Nono Kurusu, and eventually rubbed off on Senri, leading to Shinji's teasing. D-drop it, Shinji. Takuru was never always good with dealing with the teasing. Senri's right. Graduation is only 2 weeks away, like you said. Taku, I know you want to go to you, but Senri began talking, but was interrupted. Music stop. I've decided I wanted to head there. I know my quirk is weak, but... Takuru scratches the back of his head. Yeah, it's a fancy sword and all you can summon, but it's not really sharp. Plus, it's not as effective as, say... With the snap of his fingers, Shinji caused a drop of water to appear from his fingertips. Pulling out water wherever, right? It's not about that. I'm just... Isn't the entrance exam super tough? It's only 4 weeks away too. Senri looked with worry and concern, her tone starting to increase in intensity. I've taken lessons on basic sword fighting, I know what I'm doing. There are plenty of practical applications for this, too. Takuru said, bringing his case to the table. The Invisi-Sword is kinda cool from certain perspectives, but all it's gonna do is give you the jump on an opponent. It's not Shinji tries to counter-argue, but Senri gestures to Itu to drop it. You know Taku at this point. Once his mind is set on something, especially this close to the deadline, he's not stopping. Senri stated. I'll let no, don't worry. Thanks, Senri. I won't let you down. As Takuru said that, Shinji felt like he was going to tease the two again for their concern for each other, but decided to just let them have their moment. It was about time for them to leave. 30 minutes later, Takuru ended up walking back to the orphanage that day. He lived with his foster sister, Kurusu Nono, alongside Yui and Yuto Tachibana. I don't want to worry them. Nono will probably scold me when I get back, though. Takuru tends to have a habit of talking to himself, especially when he's alone. It makes it easier for him to gather his thoughts, especially when he has no one to talk to at the moment. He's always thinking whether it'd be his delusions or something else. He ended up walking under an underpass, and saw a gate that was being held up above on the other side. Was construction work being done here? And then in that instant, the gate fell. What the dash? Takuru jumped back, away from the falling gate. It covered the other side of the underpass, preventing him from getting through. He shook the gate to see if he could move it but failed to do so. What? Just? In a panic, he began to run away. Forget the shortcut, this place was too creepy. But little did our young boy here know. This was the true beginning of his legacy. Music stop. For weeks later. And don't forget all the tricks your sensei taught you. Takuru looked over his Pokecom, currently seeing his father, Wataru Sakuma, giving him a bit of a pep talk before the big exam. Don't worry, I won't forget what I learned. It's what I'll need after all. Takuru gave his response, as he was filled with confidence. You'll be going up against the best of the best, Taku. You've really fought hard for this dream, ever since you came to the orphanage. I couldn't be more proud of my little brother. Another face came to the screen, this time someone with long loose orange hair. I don't think I'll ever be able to get her to understand she's only older by a month. Yeah. I hear Senri isn't taking it? No, but I wouldn't hold your breath just yet. Unsure of what Nono meant, Takuru was approaching the entrance so he couldn't think of it. Well, it's time. I'll see you guys later, Takuru said with a smile on his face. Bye. For different voices came over. The orphanage was cheering him on, and that was the last bit of a push he needed. He turned around to see some of the other participants. Two stuck out, a boy with green hair tripping over and being saved by a girl with brown hair. Paying it no heed, he decides to make his way inside. A few hours later, after a long written test, Takuro found himself with his card, Group B as examinee. He eventually made his way to his seat, with empty spots beside him. As time goes by, the spots are filled, and eventually, someone takes the stage. Oh, it's Present Mike. Takuru quickly identified the man on stage. Hello, listeners. Can I get a tea? Present Mike shouted with his mic, but not a single person made a peep. Man, guess you're all pretty uptight, huh? Alright then, let's get down to business. I'm Present Mike, and I'll be giving you a rundown on the Hero Course practical exam. Let's do this. Ready? Yeah. As soon as Present Mike finished that shout, the boy to his left began muttering. That's Present Mike, the voice hero. I can't believe it, I listen to his radio shows all the time. All the teachers at UA really are pro heroes. The muttering was a bit too loud for Takuru's taste, so he decided to give him a bump. He could have sworn he saw the boy before, though. Excuse me, you should be a bit more silent right now. This is important. Takuru stated in a matter-of-fact tone, getting the green-haired boy's attention quickly. Right? Sorry. He quickly apologized after facing Takuru. He seemed like a bit of a fanboy for heroes, so Takuru wasn't exactly going to be a hypocrite here. The screen behind Present Mike begins to change, to show off silhouettes and other details about what he explains. All right, listeners. So, as you've read in your brochures, you lot will be participating in a 10-minute long mock battle in an urban environment right after this briefing. You'll all be divided into 5 different fields, so head to your designated battle center using the letters on your cards. As Present Mike said that, Takuru looked over his card. Battle Center B. Now, in each battle center there will be a ton of villain robots scattered throughout. Each type will be identified by how many points they give out, ranging from 1, 2, and 3, showing their level of difficulty. Your goal, listeners, is to take out these robots using any means necessary. Smash M, shut M off, render M immobile, just make sure you take them down. You got free reign to use your quirks, so make absolute use of them. Everything Present Mike stated is what Takuru studied thoroughly. There would be the 4 robots he'd have to wait a second. However, word of warning. Any unheroic acts and actions, such as attacking other examinees, is an immediate DQ. Don't forget your enemies. A few rows ahead of Takuru, a male student stood up and shot his hand up. May I ask a question? Okay. Go ahead, listener. Floor's all yours. He took out a brochure. It seems to be the one that gives detailed instructions on the exam. On this printout, you have listed 4 different types of faux villains for us to face. If this is a misprint, then UA, the most prominent school in Japan, if not the world, should be ashamed of such a foolish blunder. Is that what I look like to others? I mean, I'm not that bad. Am I? Takuru can internally hear that Itu would say he is that bad. Okay. Examine 7111, thank you for this great question. You are right, there is a 4th villain robot type. However, this one is worth 0 villain points. He's more of an obstacle than a target, so your best bet is just to try and avoid it. It's not invincible, but it's not recommended to take out, my dear listeners. A girl sitting next to the left of the green-haired boy sat up and shot her hand up. I'd like to ask a question. Examine 2235, the floor is yours. If we immobilize a target, but leave it intact for another student to destroy later, who gets the points? An excellent question, aspiring student. We have multiple test supervisors overseeing the test, so if you're able to stop the robot, you'll get the points. If someone that comes along to destroy it, they get no points. Don't worry, listeners, there's no penalty for that. Thank you. The girl sat back down. She's also familiar to Takuru. Oh, it's those 2 from the front. Do they know each other? Afterwards, Present Mike waited for a few minutes to see if anyone had any questions, and then, all right, listeners, that's all I have for you on the test briefing. So, I'll give you all a quick little present to motivate you. A sample of our school motto. General Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "A true hero is someone who overcomes life's misfortunes." A great soundbite. So, don't forget to go beyond. Plus ultra. The room began to empty, and Takuru made his way out. It's time. Music stop. 15 minutes later. Takuru found himself at Battle Center B. There were a few familiar faces, including green hair, brown hair, and Examine 7111. Everyone was making their preparations. So many people. They all seemed so varied in strength. There's no way of telling what their quirks are. Get as many points as possible, right? I have to do this. I've come so far. Hey! Takuru jumped back from the sudden voice behind him. It was a quick shock for sure. Oh, it's just the green-haired boy. You, do you need something? No, you just seemed lost in thought. Stressed? The boy spoke to him. Truth be told, there's so many amazing people around, so... Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm really nervous of how this is going to go. He seemed genuine in his care. Who is he? What's your dash? Takuru was about to ask before. You there. Green hair. Can't you see he's trying to focus? Oh, it's July 11th. Takuru snickered at his own joke. But I just thought he'd want someone to talk to, and dash. No buts. The exam is about to begin, and dash, music stop. Okay, start. Presence mic voice came on. Wait, what dash? The green-haired boy tried to say, but Takuru did not hesitate. He ran straight through, pushing past the crowd as best he can. He heard the sounds of engines, stampedes, and other sounds of people getting past. It's time. Gotta get ahead. By the time Takuru got through, about a minute passed. He wasn't going to work well sticking close. He ran straight ahead and through an alley to the left after passing an intersection. A one-pointer, let's get started. Running towards the one-pointer, a familiar sword appears in his hands as the one-pointer begins preparing to fire missiles. With a blue glow and a distinct shape, this was his quirk. Invisi-Sword. He stuck the blue sword in the one-pointer's head, but it didn't do anything. It had no weight or physical form to it. But in an instant, the glow turned from blue to purple. And it felt properly stuck in the one-pointer, subsequently short-circuiting. Takuru's right watch updated, from 0 to, this won't be a difficult trick to pull off. Let's keep it up. Takuru began running through the alleys. He'd run towards the enemies with his sword in invisible mode, and once it was lodged in a fatal spot, he'd activate physical mode. This was his quirk. Time passes as Takuru slices through them, tiring him out rather quickly. He checks his watch. Only 16. Present Mix voice comes over. 5 minutes left, listeners. Better pick up the pace. Dimin, where to go? I can't rely on the back alleys. I hear destruction all around. Maybe if I could find spares, then. Sheet, there's not much time. I'll just need to get a visual on the overall situation. Time to head to the main street. Takuru takes a right and heads to the center street. He saw so much going on at once. He spent his time trying to figure out a way to get more points, but quirks were being used left and right. A girl lifting them into the air and causing them to break from falling, explosions being used, and even some weaker players trying to shut them off from behind. Takuru stood in the wake of all this destruction. His Invisi-Sword invisible. 2 minutes left. Time is running out. As Present Mix voice came over once again, the ground began to shake. Music stop. At that moment, something terrifying showed up. The 0-pointer. Everyone looked and stared for a second, and then there was panic and chaos. Everyone scrambling to get away. There were more pointers blocking the 0-pointer, but is it worth the risk? At that moment, Takuru saw the same green-haired boy watch the mechanical monstrosity himself. And along with that, the girl who helped him trapped under rubble. It's just like, mother. Takuru relived a memory. His house had crumbled down, and his mother was trapped. He tried to use his Invisi-Sword to break the rubble, but it wasn't enough. No. I'm stronger. Little did Takuru know, as he came to terms with his improvements over the past. So too did a fated young man feel the same way about growing stronger. Takuru began running in, and so did that green-haired boy. He watched him run towards the beast. Whoever you are, let's do this. Takuru felt himself motivated, ready to fight. As he followed behind, the green-haired boy took an incredible jump. He went so high up that Takuru couldn't follow it, leaving him behind to deal with several 2-pointers. Bodyguards, huh? He couldn't take them on alone. He was left behind. Damn it. I won't fall behind. There are friends behind me. Itu. And then, in an instant, Takuru felt an aching headache. You've got some crazy delusions, Takuru. Talk about detailed. What other things can you imagine? I'm kind of like a living fire hydrant, right? Being able to bring water in an instant. And then in an instant, the gate fell. Present. Takuru raised his sword and activated physical mode. But instead of slashing at the enemies, he aimed it towards them. Takuru closed his eyes and opened them. And what he saw was something he never imagined. Water is firing out of my sword. The sword's glow intensified as one of the 2-pointers is slammed far back into the 0-pointer as the water is emitted from the blade, like a fire hose. Takuru took the opportunity to aim it at the other 2, and turned around to see 2 more 2-pointers. They were about to fire at him. I just need to be a little closer. With a blink, he is right in between the 2. He didn't take any time to think about how he teleported, so he struck them from their sides, knowing where they short-circuit. That's 10 more points. Not taking any time to think, he wondered how the boy was doing, and saw him high in the sky, with the 0-pointer falling far behind. Did he punch that thing in the face? What the hell? His arm is sheet, he's flailing. He might not be able to land. And then, Takuru remembered. The person who made those robots float. It was the girl that was trapped there. If I free her, then she can. Takuru began to ran over, thinking of how to get it off her, but he never even got close. Because after a blink, the rubble was moved off of her. What? The girl was confused too, looking over at Takuru and then to the boy in the sky. She then knew what to do in an instant and reached out for him. Takuru wanted to see if things will be alright, but his head was throbbing. Ow, my head. Even as Takuru fell down, he relaxed and began to rest. Knowing that he did good, helping to save both of them. Music stop. Meanwhile, now that was the greatest minute of my life. A female teacher said. No other forms of pleasure could come close to this. Indeed, there are truly some fine candidates for the hero course this year. Especially those two boys, the mouse-like figure said. A yellow-haired, skinny man watched. Both surprised and proud. 1 week later, Takuru was in his room. The events of the exam a week ago were a blur. All he remembered was that, after he shot water out of his sword like a fire hose and teleported, he got an aching headache and fell unconscious. Even now, he doesn't know what happened. But, coming soon, he might be able to find his answer. Because today, the results came in. Takuru is in his room. But it's really here. Takuru, stressed and unsure of what's coming from these results, opened the box and found a recording device inside. His room was dark, and he was alone. He placed it on his table and, I am here as a projection. A booming voice came from the projector. Takuru recognized the voice right away. All Might. Stunned into silence, he watched with suspense. I am, as you are likely aware, All Might. Why am I here, you ask? Simple. I am the newest staff member of UA's teaching board. But enough about that, let us get into the results. Go. You passed the written exam with flying colors, placing second. That is quite the impressive feat. But, as you're aware, not quite enough. As for your practical exam results, you only achieved a total of 26 villain points. While decent for the average hero, it is not quite enough to pass into the hero course, especially with the amount of promising recruits this year. Damn it. Did I? However, young Takuru Miyashiro, do not despair just yet. What? Just watching you normally in combat would be very difficult to know how you performed with all your abilities. But our staff are quite the perceptive bunch. We noticed that all your efforts to save the two young students that came face to face with the zero-pointer were the result of your mysterious abilities, ones we find quite impressive. Quirk? That's right. Something strange happened. And that is not all. There is an element to the test that is not mentioned. Yes, I am of course referring to rescue points. Rescue points? Does that mean? As the young boy fought hard to take out the zero-pointer, you fought against what you thought to be impossible odds at the time to reach the young girl, and used your power to give her the chance to save the young boy as he fell. You saved 2 people as a result of your efforts? Heroes are all about saving people. That is why rescue points were put into place. Takuru Miyashiro, you had achieved 45 rescue points as a result of your actions, totaling to 71 points in total. With time and training, your power can be used for far more than you'd believe. Wait. Takuru's eyes began to feel. What? Young Miyashiro. I welcome you to our Hero Academia. You did it, Taku. Nono came up to Takuru and hugged him, where he was promptly joined by the Tachibanas, Yui and Yuto, and even Wataru joined in the group hug. The family were hanging out in their dining area when Takuru got the news, waiting for him. So they're there now. What? I knew my boy would do it. You did a fine job, rescuing those 2 kids. Wataru said, congratulating Takuru. I couldn't leave the girl there to just be stuck. And if I didn't go, the green-haired boy would've. Oh, so it was a girl who made you take action? Nono looked at Takuru, unamused. It's not like that. I wanted to save them, and plus, thanks to me saving them, someone else who tried to save her was saved by that girl in return. I'm kind of lost. The young boy in blue clothes, Yuto said. Oh, it's alright, Yuto. All Big Bro did was something amazing. His older sister, Yui, comforted him as we all broke away from the hug. I'm just teasing you, Taku. Besides, I know you wouldn't leave Senri behind like that. Right? Nono showed her intentions, but went back to the glare. Do you and Itu just love torturing me like this, or am I just fated to have this happen to me? Takuru muttered to himself, before Nono and Wataru smiled. Ah, I helped raise a great boy, didn't I? Must be thanks to your big sister nature as well, Nono? Wataru said. He never looked so proud before, and it made Takuru smile as well. I dunno. He's a teenage boy, maybe it was something else. But you did amazing out there, Taku. So, get out there and show the world what you're made of, hero. Nono said, stopping the teasing and really getting the motivational speeches going. Yeah. I'm not a hero yet, but I will learn more about my own quirk and how to apply it. Takuru clenched his fist, with resolve and determination in his eyes. So, he'll cross the starting line. Act 1. Encounters. Episode 1. Start line. First day of UA. Have everything you need? Nono asked Takuru as he was getting ready to leave for UA. Just ready to go. Takuru stood firm, bag on his back, and UA's uniform worn. I don't know how to feel about my little brother going to UA, especially since I'm going elsewhere, Nono said. She obviously had concerns. Don't worry, I can take care of myself. It can't be too different from middle school. Actually, that's a dumb statement. Yes it is. I'll be fine. Seriously, I'll be back before dinner, Takuru said, scratching the back of his head when doing so. Alright. If you say so. Just so you know, I am holding you up to that. That was, ma'am. The two stood there awkwardly for a moment, before Wataru came into the entrance room with the two. Still here? Good. I can say my goodbyes then. Wataru was already dressed up for his work for the day. The orphanage here doubles as a clinic. It's not as though I'm gonna be gone for the next few months. I'll be back tonight, Takuru said with a little more confidence. Alrighty then. Have a good first day at school. Waving him off, he headed into his clinic. I guess Yui and Yudo are still sleeping? Takuru asked Nono. Don't worry though, I'll let them know. Don't want to be late, right? Off you go. Nono began pushing Takuru out playfully. Alright. I'm going. See you tonight. Takuru opened the doors and left. He began making his way from the orphanage clinic to UA High. UA Building. 1A, 181A. Takuru walks through the halls of UA High, searching for Class 1A. Eventually, he finds the door with the label. Huge door. Then again, makes sense in our supernatural society. Alright. Class 1A, here I come. Takuru opens the door. What? You're kidding. Music stop. Oh hey, it's Takuru. What did I tell you, Minamisua? I knew he'd pass just fine. The voice was familiar to Takuru. He called out the voice's name. S. Shinji? Sir, please quiet down. This is a classroom. Another voice came over. You too, 7111? Takuru reiterated the number that was given to him. I never gave you my name, did I? I'm Tenya Ida. Your name is Takuru, correct? Ida was correct on that front. That's my first name. My name's Takuru Miyashiro. Takuru introduced himself properly. I see. Wait, you're one of the two who ran back to deal with the zero-pointer. And there it is. Wait, seriously? He took on that thing? That's so manly. A red-haired boy called out, really selling the story that what Takuru did was incredible. Taku. A certain girl called for his name. He slowly turned to his left, seeing a certain pink-haired girl sitting in the back row. Senri? Wow, so those three know each other. Karo? Another girl stated. We're talking after class. She stated, very bluntly. Wow, he's whipped. A yellow-haired boy stated. Takuru, of course, did not take this well, but just tried to ignore it. As a result, he ended up just trying to find his seat. Ida bowed, before he also went back to his seat. Takuru located his in the middle row on the left, next to Senri. Takuru tried to not pay too much heed, since he knew the scolding he was gonna get later. So for now, the current students waited for the remaining students. A few more came in, but the most recent one to come in ended up putting his legs on his desk, and so Ida. Excuse me. Get your feet off your desk. Ida gets from his seat and moves to the seat behind him. The boy responds. It's the first day, and you are already disrespecting this academy by scuffing school property, you cretin. You're kidding me, right? Did your old school put a stick up your butt, or were you born with it? The boy delinquent, responded. Talk about being disrespectful. Oh hey, it's the green-haired boy. Takuru turned over to the entrance door and saw the green-haired boy from the test. He seemed shocked and disappointed. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Ida from the semi-private academy. Ida tried to introduce himself to the delinquent, but he had other ideas. Sumaiha? So you must think you're better than me. I'm gonna have fun tearing you a new one. Ida, of course, was shocked at this behavior. How you would threaten me? Your own classmate? Are you sure you're in the right place? The delinquent just ignored him and turned to the entrance door. Green hair was still there. Ida also turned there. It's him. He straightened himself out, and the delinquent ignored the kid. Everyone else turned to the boy. Hi. He got all flustered from all the attention as Ida made his way over. Good morning. My name is Tenya Ida, and I know. I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's super nice to meet you. It was very clear he was not used to introducing himself in such a manner. Midoriya. You and Miyashiro realized there was something more to the practical exam, didn't you? Midoriya calmed down and looked at Ida. You ran in first, of course, so you must have been very perceptive. And I completely misjudged you. As a student, I must admit, you are far superior to me. Midoriya didn't know how to take this, but clearly, he didn't have the highest self-confidence of anyone in this room. Hey, I recognize that messed up hair. Falling boy. Another voice came from behind Midoriya just outside the door. It was a girl's voice. Oh, she's the same one who asked that question about immobilizing the robots before the practical exam. So you passed the practical exam. Not that I'm surprised, that punch was amazing. Bam. One hit. And it fell down. As the voice outside fangirled over Midoriya's performance, he started to get all flustered and red. Oh hey hi. So I should probably be thanking you for going in and talking to Present Mike? How'd you know about that? Oh, I'm what? Did something happen after the practical exam that I missed out on? Takuru thought to himself and turned over to the delinquent. He seemed to hold contempt? He couldn't tell from the expression. Midoriya had completely turned away by this point, trying to cover his face. The girl went on. So, what do you think we're going to do today besides orientation? I wonder what our teachers are like. I can't wait to meet everyone. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up your stuff now. A more serious voice came from outside, resulting in Midoriya to calm down and just look downwards with shock. Ida followed with the same expression. Welcome to UA's hero course. The sound of something being unzipped could be heard. It took 8 seconds for you to shut up. That's not gonna work, time is precious. Rational students would understand that. By this point, the girl had entered as well. Brown-haired? Same one as before, no doubt. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa. Your teacher? That he's our teacher? He looked very tired. Does he sleep? Alright, let's get to it. Aizawa took out gym uniforms from his bag and showed the class. Put these on and head outside. Everyone was understandably confused, but everyone agreed regardless. UA outdoor field. The 20 students were gathered, with Aizawa's back facing the class. What? A quirk assessment test. A few students raised their concerns. But orientation, we're going to miss it. The brown-haired girl said. If you're going to want to make the big leagues, you can't waste your time on pointless ceremonies like that. Everyone was a bit shocked by his blunt ideals. Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditionals. That means I get to run my class however I see fit. What does he mean by that? Takuru asked himself, but he knew he'll get his answer in time. You've been taking standardized tests for the most of your lives, but you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. One day the Ministry of Education will learn. Is that really true? Are schools biased like that? Bakugo, you managed to get the most point on the entrance exam. What was your farthest distance thrown with a softball when you were in junior high? Aizawa questioned one of the boys in front. He was the delinquent from before. Bakugoha. 67 meters, I think. Right. Try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes, just stay in the circle. Bakugo took point and made his way to the circle, soft ball in hand. He looked at the field ahead of him. Go on, you're wasting our time. He stretched his muscles and gets ready to toss. All right, man, you asked for it. Finishing his stretching, he moved his arm back and, with a loud grunt, he tossed the ball, leaving a large explosion where he tossed it from, and a flame following the ball went into the skies. Oh no, Midoriya said to himself. What the hell? He really did get the most points on the entrance exam. With a quirk like that. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. The ball finally landed. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potentials as a pro hero. He raised his device, reading 705.2 meters. Whoa, 705 meters, are you kidding me? The yellow-haired boy said, really shocked. I want to go. That looks like fun. A pink-haired skin girl said, excited. Just stay in the circle, huh? We can use our quirks as much as we want, otherwise. It is said, getting some ideas. So this looks fun, huh? Aizawa began to speak. Midoriya reacts to his statement. You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all going to be games and play time? Aizawa began to grin. Idiots. Oh no is right, Midoriya. Today, you will be competing in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none and will be expelled immediately. What? Most students, including Takuru, shouted. What the hell kind of class is this? Immediate expulsion? Like I said, I get to decide how this class runs. Aizawa's creepy smile grew, making his point. Understand? If that's a problem, you can head home right now. A huge test like this on day 1. I don't even understand how my quirk works yet. You can't send one of us home. We just got here. I mean, even if it wasn't the first day, that isn't fair. The brown-haired girl stood up for our class. Oh, and you think natural disasters are? Everyone was stunned yet again. So that's the point he's going for. Or power-hungry villains, And catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities? The world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're going to have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. So go beyond. Plus ultra style. He uses his hand and gestures the group to come over. Show me it's no mistake that you're here. I don't even know half of my quirk's abilities. All I took was swordsmanship lessons to give me an edge in the practical exam, but those abilities I used were what gave me the push to keep me in UA. On top of that, I put a lot of effort in studying for the written exam. I can't just let all of that be thrown away here and now. If I can just figure out how my quirk works, then. Now then, we're just wasting time by talking. Let the games begin. 50-meter dash. Runners on your marks. Ready? Go. Ida and a dark green-haired girl made their dash across the field. Ida was extremely fast, though. 3.04 seconds. Tenya Ida turned to face the field. Tenya quirk, engine. His calves have jet engines installed in them, allowing him to move very fast. Well, he's definitely in his element. But speed won't help him in every test. Aizawa oversaw the test, and the girl leaped over the finish line, reminiscent of a frog. 5.58 seconds. The next duo gets ready. I'll lighten up my clothes. Oh, and my shoes too. The brown-haired girl is part of the duo. Let's see this pamphlet. Her name's Uraraka. Takuru examines a paper that was handed out for everyone to look over while they had downtime during the tests. Achiko Uraraka, quirk, 0 gravity. She can nullify the gravitation pull of any object she touches. Get set. The sound of poppers went off. Go! She began running across the track, though going all out on running clearly caused her to tire out. 5.49 seconds. The other person, someone with a big tail, leaps over. 7.15 seconds. Uraraka makes it over. The pink-haired skin girl and Ida make their way over. Good thing I got some ideas. Shinji is more than ready, as he turns away from the track. I hope you drank a lot of water. Runners, on your marks. Ready? Go. Shinji raises both his hands forward, jumps, and water begins sprouting like a geyser from them. Shinji Quirk, water hose, he can create and blast water from his fingertips. The more water he drank prior, the more he can release. He sends himself across the track. 3.68 seconds. The pink-haired girl followed suit. 4.58 seconds. Midoriya and Bakugo take their place next. My time is coming up. I need an idea. Runners, on your marks. Ready? Go. Bakugo wastes no time in using his explosions to propel himself forward. Burst speed. 4.43 seconds. Bakugo crosses the line. Katsuki Bakugo, Quirk, explosion. He can use his sweat to create explosions. 7.02 seconds. Midoriya makes it across the finish line, tired out already. Alright, no time. Let's try. Takuru and Senri take their place. Not using your quirk, Senri? Takuru asked her. You're not any better, you know. We'll see. In retaliation, Takuru turned. He used his water to propel himself forward. If I can do the same with my Invisi-Sword, I'll get past in no time. Runners, on your marks. Takuru makes his Invisi-Sword appear. Wait, how did I do that again? Ready? CRP. Takuru gave up on that plan and turned to run. Go! Senri and Takuru ran across the track. 7.35 seconds. Senri crossed first. 8.12 seconds. Takuru followed suit. He was tired, more so than Senri. Damn it, how do I use that water? Is it instinct or? Damn it. I don't think my sword's going to help me here. How do I get ahead of the class at this rate? Grip strength. Damn it. I lack physical training for this. What am I supposed to? As Takuru thought to himself, his grip tightened and heard a beeped sound. That only 44 kilograms? Standing long jump. Certain individuals like Bakugo and Itu get across fine, but others like Takuru and Midoriya don't even reach the camera. This isn't good. Repeated side steps. Everyone is about on the same level here, some individuals getting bold to use their quirks to help slightly boost the rate of speed. All in all, the most physical-based test of the four so far. Ball throw. Uraraka throws the ball, and after about 30 seconds of floating into the stratosphere. Infinity? The students shout out, as Aizawa shows that Uraraka got infinity. Damn it. Only Midoriya is on my level. Distance run, sit UPS and seated toe touch. Nothing my quirk helps with. On top of that, I lack the physical strength to do anything. I have to do something here. Think, how do I use that water again? Takuru, not focusing, then hears the sound of a ball landing. 36 meters. Midoriya was standing in the circle, and Aizawa was standing rather menacingly. His scarf was floating around him. Midoriya reacted to Aizawa's new stance. I erased your quirk. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. Wait, you did what to my dash? Those goggles, I know you. You can look at someone cancel out their powers. The erasure hero. Eraserhead. Eraserhead? Why did he stop his? Takuru thinks back to the practical exam. It was for a brief moment, but after Midoriya started falling after punching the 0-pointer. That's right. His quirk is more self-destructive than anything. You're not ready. You don't have control over your power. Were you planning to break your bones again? Counting on someone to save your useless body? No. That's not what I was trying to do dash. Before Midoriya could defend himself, Aizawa's scarf wrapped itself around Midoriya from the distance. Aizawa nor Midoriya hadn't moved a single step. What kind of scarf is that? No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle. Midoriya seemed frightened. Like this is a reality check for him. You have the same reckless passion as another overzealous hero I know. One who saved 1,000 people by himself and became a legend. But even with that drive, You're worthless if you can only throw a single punch before breaking down. Sorry, Midoriya. With your power, there's no way you can become a hero. What the hell? He's comparing Midoriya to All Might. I returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. Hurry and get it over with. Aizawa stopped his menacing stare, his scarf returned to normal, and moved a bit closer to the group. I wonder if our teacher gave him some advice. Ida says, not aware of what Aizawa discussed with Midoriya. Didn't hear that. Probably told him to start packing. Bakugo says. About that time, Aizawa uses eye drops on his eyes. Damn it, Midoriya. You can't just fail. Midoriya begins throwing the ball. And as soon as the ball exits his hand, it shoots way up into the sky. Whoa! Takuru reacts. He looks at Midoriya. Only his finger was broken. Thought he used only his finger? 705 meters. That's the same as Bakugo. Mr. Aizawa. Midoriya turns to Aizawa. You see? I'm still standing. This kid. He's incredible. Propelling it at the last possible point of contact. I wouldn't have thought of that. You threw it over 700 meters. A male voice shouted out. Nice. He's finally showing us his true power. Uraraka gets all excited. But his finger appears to be broken now. Just like in the exam, his quirk is very odd. Ida points out, thinking about what Midoriya's quirk is. That self-destructive nature reminds me of a certain someone I know. Senri says, not being subtle about who she's referring to. Bakugo just stood there shocked. Bakugo seems very surprised. Bakugo's hands light up and he charges forward. Hey, Deku, Ubisi, tell me how you did that. Midoriya yelled in a bit of a panic before Bakugo got wrapped by Aizawa's scarf. Why the hell is your DMN scarf so strong? Bakugo struggles trying to get forward, but is completely held back. Because it's a capture weapon made of carbon fiber and made of a special metal alloy. Stand down, it'd be wise to not make me use my quirk so much. It gives me serious dry eye. In unison, a few students say, too bad. That power is amazing. Showed Aizawa, quirk, erasure. He can erase the quirk of anyone he looks at, but the effect ends when he blinks. You're wasting my time now. Whoever's next can step up. Aizawa stops his erasure status, and lets Bakugo go. Midoriya sidesteps, watching Bakugo as he stands there and rejoins the group. He's really said. Uraraka goes to show some care to Midoriya. That it's my turn then. Takuru steps up. You know, that sword of his is pretty cool, but he hasn't gotten to use it, has he? One of the students say. I can hear them well. What should I do? Use it as a bat? No, it used water propulsion to get it over 300 meters. If I can reach that, I'll at least be above average. Takuru takes the ball in his hand and looks at the field ahead of him. But I don't know how to cause water to come out. Shinji needs hydration. No, our quirks aren't the same. There's gotta be a different condition for this. But what? What is my quirk's ability? Hey, come on, you're just standing there. Show em what you can do, Takuru. No time to think. I have to just do it. Think. Before that, I never thought about my sword. All I could do is use my sword as it was. When I blinked, the rubble on Uraraka was gone in the practical exam. On top of that, after I blinked before that, I was in between those two villain bots. And the water. It didn't feel like it was coming from my body, but rather draining my mind. Takuru stepped back, held the ball in one hand and the sword in his other. He's gonna bat it? Gonna crush him as well for thinking he deserves to be here. Hey, Bakugo, chill out, man. At least give him a shot. It only happened after I blinked. The gate falling, the water coming, my teleportation, the rubble moving. Takuru tossed the ball in an upwards arc ahead of him. Hey, what's he dash? He aimed the sword at the ball. Did I just have to believe it's happening, longing for it to occur? He blinked. And afterwards, everyone was yelling out their surprise. Takuru looked for the ball. It was being propelled by a jet of water coming from the tip of his blade. No way. Was I right? What the dash? No way. Hey, isn't that it is dash? What's going on? The water propulsion kept going and going. It was extraordinarily powerful, almost akin to that of a laser. My head. The water stopped as Takuru grasped his head, and 808 meters. What? What? The class shouted in union. No way. What kind of quirk is that? What just happened? Holy shit, Takuru, that was awesome. Did you just upgrade my quirk? Takuru was surrounded in an instant, patted on the back by Itu. What kind of quirk is that? Aizawa comments to himself, letting the class surround him. Save Bakugo, of course. Personal space, everyone. Takuru called out, and on cue, everyone scattered around him. Takuru's Invisi-Sword glowed blue, indicating to only him that it's invisible for everyone else. Is your quirk, like, a mix of water jets and that sword? The tail guy asked. No, it goes beyond that. During the exam, he was able to teleport as well. Ida added on. There was so much to Takuru's quirk that no one could figure out. He can teleport? A couple students shouted out in surprise. I don't know too much about my quirk, so if you could dash. That's so cool, Miyashiro. Not only do you have a unique sword to demonstrate how unique you are, but you also exhibit so many different quirks. Do you know how many there are? Is it related to that sword? You only exhibited those special cases when your sword is seen. Midoriya began to go on and mumble to himself. Alright, that's enough. You guys can ask Miyashiro all about his quirk later on. We still have 3 tests to go through, get ready. Aizawa interrupted. It's not over yet. If I just believe in something to happen, then it happens? Is that my quirk? Whatever it is, I have to get through the test. I'll only be able to find out what it is if I study here at UA. And if I'm right, it could be an amazing quirk for a hero. Later. After that, Class 1A wrapped up the remaining 3 tests. By the end, some students such as Bakugo were fine, most students were tired, and both Takuru and Midoriya were dead tired. So difficult? Takuru mumbled to himself. I'm really going to have a workout plan. After getting up, they were all ready to receive the results. Alright, time for the results. I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should have a good idea of your standing already. I'll just pull out the whole list, no point going individually. The only test I was good at was the softball throw. If I had just been able to use my quirk sooner, I might be able to use it sooner. But my results were so bad. Damn it. The screen displayed the results. Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Tenya Ida, Fumikage Tokoyami, Mizo Shoji, Mashireo Ojiro, Ijiro Kirishima, Mina Ishido, Achiko Uraraka, Koji Koda, Rikido Sato, Tsuyu Azui, Shinji, Denki Kaminari, Kyokujiro, Toru Hagakure, Izuka Midoriya, Senri Minamisawa, Takuru Miyashiro. Why you're kidding? Best place? I failed. While some students, such as Midoriya, were relieved, Shinji and Senri quickly came over to comfort Takuru. Excuse me, Mr. Aizawa, can I dash? Senri was about to speak up, before he turned off the display, and I was lying. No one's going home. What? That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests. That grin came onto his face yet again. What? Students such as Midoriya, Ida, and Takuru gave their shock. More obviously were shocked as well, but surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out. I'm sorry, guess I should have said something. One of the girls said. That must be Yaoyorozu from the list I was given. Yeah. You should have. Other students said in agreement. Phew. Glad all 3 of us will stay here. Shinji said, patting the back of Miyashiro. That's it, we're done for the day. Pick up a syllabus from the classroom, read it over before tomorrow morning. Takuru had some deep breaths, and Aizawa stopped by Midoriya. Midoriya, take this to the nurse's office and have the old lady fix you up. And don't forget, Miyashiro, things are going to be tougher tomorrow when your actual training begins. Make sure you're prepared. First day passed, and yet, starting out at the bottom. But there's so much I can learn from my quirk. There's hope for me yet. In the school. Talk about stressful beyond belief. Takura walked out the front doors and quickly identified Midoriya. He wanted to know more about my quirk. He seemed the analytical type. Maybe he can help. Midoriya. Takura called out and ran over to him. He seemed tired. I'm so tired. Miyashiro. Midoriya turned around to face Takuru. I didn't see you there. Are you, doing alright? Yeah. Just, really stressed out. As I should be. On my first day of school. It's normal. Ha. I know the feeling. Oh, about your dash. Yeah, I actually came to talk to you about it. I was thinking you'd be able to help me figure it out. So you don't really know how your quirk works? No, not really. For the longest time, I thought I just had a cool sword I could turn invisible and visible, only effective when visible. I had no idea I could perform abilities akin to that of other quirks. That is really odd. I wonder what could have caused you to awaken those abilities. Awaken? Takuru perked up. He was familiar with the concept of a quirk awakening already. It's rare, but it's possible that your quirk awakened recently. You used your new abilities for the first time during the practical exam, right? That I don't think so. I suspect I might have used it earlier, but dash. Midoriya felt a tap on his shoulder. Oh. Hey Ida. Midoriya turned around to see Ida. How's the broken finger doing? Ida asked. He seemed concerned. Oh. It's doing fine, thanks to Recovery Girl. Midoriya lifted his bandaged finger up to Ida, and Takuru saw. Why didn't I ask that first? Now I look insensitive. I was a bit concerned by Mr. Aizawa's approach to class. But I trust the school's judgment. UA is the top program. Ida crosses his arms. Yeah, but even so, lying isn't a good way to help start us off on the right foot. Takuru followed up. I was about to say, wait up you three. Are you guys going to station? Wait for me. Uraraka came up. Oh, you're the Infinity Girl. Ida identified her as. I'm Ochako Uraraka. Let's see. You are Tenya Ida, and your name is. Deku, right? Midoriya? Deku? Yeah? Isn't that what Bakugo called you? During the fitness test, he said. You bastard. Right? Well, my name is actually Izuku. Deku is what Kaken calls me to make fun of me. Midoriya tried to explain. Aside from sounding like a clear case of bullying, did you all not get the pamphlet that had our class in it? Takuru added in. But. You're kidding me. Let's just move on. Sorry, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. Uraraka apologized for her assumption. But you know what? I liked Deku. It could make a great hero name. Plus, it sounds kinda cute dash. It is. Just like that? Ida said in some surprise. Weren't you saying it was an insult? Takuru brought up Midoriya's previous explanation. Perspective shift. My whole world is upside down. Midoriya seemed flustered. Give him a break, Takuru. Besides, you'd feel the same if Minamisawa was the one suggesting to change its meaning. Shinji came up to the group. He doesn't have much backbone, but he has some of it at least. Give him a break, Shinji. Senri followed behind Idu. You must be Miyashiro's friends. My name is Dash, Ida began to say, but was stopped. Yeah, we know, don't worry. Tenya Ida, right? And we know Takuru, your Deku Midoriya, and your. The Infinity Girl. Shinji recalled their names from memory, but got two things wrong. Though, maybe the first thing was intentional. It's Izuku. Not Deku. Though, I mean it's fine if you want to call me that, but Dash. And my name's Ochako Uraraka, though I got to admit, Infinity Girl sounds pretty cool. It's nice to meet Taku's new friends. I'm Senri Minamisawa. And my name's Shinji. Pretty sure you got my style down already, though. Minamisawa. That's such a nice name. And plus, you seem nice too. I think we'll get along. Uraraka talks to Senri. Thank you. Senri smiled at that. Senri wasn't the best at making friends before all this. Shinji, your quirk was also impressive. If you were any more powerful, you could beat me in it. Ida began talking to Shinji. Nah, I don't think I could beat someone who uses jet engines in their legs. Still, it's nice to dream. Shinji was already getting along with him. Hey Midoriya? Takuru talked to Midoriya. Yeah Miyashiro? It'll be nice being here. Yeah. I think so too. Now, which of these 4 sentences contain a mistake? Present Mike asked the class, after finishing writing on the chalkboard. The man whom I respect most is my father. That is the house in which he lived. I well remember the day on which we both met. Please tell me that all you know. UA High. While special in that it trains top-of-the-line heroes, it's still a high school. So of course, it has core classes like English meeting in the mornings. Takuru shot his hand up before anyone else. Not that it was difficult since most students were bored. Go ahead. Lay it on us. It would be statement 4, please tell me that all you know. The correct form would be please tell me all that you know, swapping all and that. Takuru shared his answer and reasoning. Didn't need to show your reasoning, but good on you for fitting the plus ultra style. Good work. UA Cafeteria. All students also eat in the cafeteria, where they can purchase cheap, quality foods for cheap prices. This white rice is incredible. Takuru exclaimed, sitting with Senri and Itu. It really is. I'll have to let Nono know that I'll be fine without her helping me making lunches. Senri said, enamored with the quality. Classroom 1. And then in the afternoon, the moment all students wait for. Hero basic training. Coming through the door like a hero. All Might gallantly opens and walks through the classroom door. On that cue, everyone else in the room begins muttering and talking, save for the more stoic ones. Whoa, I can't believe it's really All Might, Kaminari said, excitedly. After yesterday's classes, Takuru studied up on his students' names. He's able to recognize everybody now, despite the short time given to memorize. Wow, so he really is a teacher. This year's gonna be totally awesome. Kirishima said, looking forward to the rest of the year. Hey look, is he wearing his Silver Age costume? Azui said, pointing out the man's red and blue uniform along with his cape. All Might. I still can't believe he also called me by name when I got accepted. Nope. Can't fanboy here, I've got an image too. He's even more incredible in person. Takuru could not hold himself back. Senri shot him a look from his side, but let it go. It's nice to see this side of Takuru, according to her. Man, I'm getting goosebumps. It's so retro. Ojiro said, hit with a form of nostalgia most others also feel. Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it as Heroing 101. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro, and what it means to fight in the name of good. All Might begins flexing, before pulling out a card labeled Battle in big red comical letters. Let's get into it. Today's lesson will pull no punches. Fight training. Bakugo seemed a bit excited about it. He did score the most points in the practical exam purely off of villain points. Real combat? Midoriya said, with some hint of nervousness. But one of the keys is being a hero 3s. Looking good. He points to the slots in the wall opening up, showing small briefcases inside labeled with green numbers. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and the request you sent in before school started. Everyone cheered at the prospect of finally getting to wear their hero costumes. Even Senri seemed a bit excited. Get yourselves suited up, and meet me at Training Ground Beta. Yes sir. Teach Ground Beta. All Might stood proudly in front of a large tunnel, awaiting for his class to arrive. Eventually, figures began walking through. They say that clothes make the pros, ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof. Take this to heart, from now on you are all heroes in training. 19 students made their way. Everyone's hero costumes were so varied, but Takuru had joined with his 2 friends, Shinji and Senri. Before, Takuru had worn a costume designed using Hekiho Middle School's uniform as a base. The changes made were to add stripes to the left and right sleeves, colored blue and purple respectively, to symbolize the colors the Invisi-Sword emits. Blue when invisible, purple when visible. Furthermore, his clothes received a design overhaul, reducing the thickness of the uniform, allowing him to move much more easily in them since he'll need to move fast and decisively as a swordsman. His hands were also covered with gloves, colors the same as the sleeves of his costume. blue for his left, purple for his right. Overall, his clothes had the least inspirational design of all costumes. Seriously, you didn't go too far into depth with your costume, huh? It's literally just Hekiho's school uniform. Shinji pointed out the lack of originality. It had wore a yellow outfit striped red, reminiscent to that of a firefighter, albeit not as baggy that you could think of his outfit as just some firefighter fanboy. However, on his back, he had a water bag strapped, and underneath his collar, he would be able to drink it straight from there using a connected straw, much like one of those bags you'd use when hiking. Takuru had come up with the idea when the three got together for costume ideas, as it'd help Ida supply his quirk's energy. Speak for yourself, you're basically a firefighter. Takuru retorted. Maybe the group shouldn't have let Takuru take up design lead for costumes. Hey, you were the one who gave me the go-ahead on this. Maybe we shouldn't have let Takuru design our costumes. They're too basic. Senri added. Her costume was a bodysuit that would fit her body's athletic needs. Her quirk was unique, so the group struggled to come up with ideas of her costume, but they settled on the purple-tinted bodysuit that also added a drop-down mask to hide all but her eyes for her face. Senri, you know how difficult your quirk was to think around? Doesn't matter. It wasn't a bad idea, anyways. All I need to do is touch my target, and my quirk activates if I want it to. Well, the class is going on ahead. Let's go. Shinji went on ahead. Senri and Takuru were left behind for a moment. You sure you didn't design it this way because of other reasons? Senri asked. Takuru thought it was teasing but defended himself anyways. And no, I just wanted to help come up with something simple and lets you use your quirk effectively. You knew I was teasing, yet you did that anyways. You're smart, but you're a bit of a dork, you know that? I'm not just smart, I'm inherently smart. We're going to work on that a bit. Also, don't think I forgot about you running head first to a 0-pointer. I didn't watch the exams, but I learned what they were from Itu. You didn't watch them? What do you dash? Hey, come on you lovebirds. Get over here. Shinji called the two over. When will he stop teasing us like that? Let's go. Takuru was ready to move. Senri face palmed first, before nodding her head. Yes, let's. Present. This is getting me all ramped up. You all look so cool. Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies? All Might said, praising everyone's designs. Hey, where's Midoriya? He's not under that suit of armor, is he? Takuru subsequently turns around and sees Midoriya in. That's supposed to be a rabbit. Ah, hey Deku. Uraraka walks over to. You Uraraka? Midoriya's voice was unmistakable, from the rabbit costume. I love your costume. It was those words to get Midoriya into a flustering panic. Not too flashy, you know? Wow, she went straight for it. Kinda missed the days when talking to you about Senri would be enough to get you to act like Midoriya. Maybe I should go tease those two instead. Shinji talked to Takuru about the pair. I'll take the teasing if it means you spare them. Takuru hastily replies. All Might tensed up all of a sudden, then turned for a second. But he recovered, and now the class is ready. Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training. All Might began to speak, before the man in the suit began to speak. Sir. The voice coming was Ida's. He raised his hand. Ida? That kind of looks familiar, now that I think about it. This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean we'll be conducting urban battles again? Not quite. I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead. Most of the villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with the most dastardly evildoers take place indoors. It's true. It's not unlike how crime syndicates worked during the pre-Quirk era. Most dealings would occur in secluded locations. Think about it. Backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this training exercise, you'll be splitting into teams of good guys and bad guys, and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. Isn't this a little advanced? Azui raised her concerns. The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot now. You're dealing with actual people. Everyone begins raising questions. Sir, will you be deciding who wins? How much can we hurt the other team? Do we need to worry about the losers getting expelled like earlier? Will you be splitting us up randomly or based on comparative skill? I wasn't finished talking. All Might was overwhelmed and pulled out a script after everyone continued to listen. A script? Guess even the best heroes need help sometimes. Is he a first-time teacher? Listen up. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try and foil their plans. To do that, the good guys have to either catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the villains succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes. Kind of like an action movie setup, huh? I wonder if I should watch some of those again. Time's limited, so we'll be determining teams by drawing lots. Isn't there a better way? Ida asks, raising a concern. Think about it. Pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot, so maybe that's the reason we're seeing that here. Midoriya speaks up, validating this choice of team assignment. Yes, I see. Life is a random series of events. Excuse my rudeness. Ida rests the debate and bows. No sweat. Let's draw. Team A, Ochako Uraraka plus Izuku Midoriya. Team B, Mizo Shoji plus Shoto Todoroki. Team C, Shinji Ito plus Momo Yaoyorozu. Team D, Katsuki Bakugo plus Tenya Ida. Team E, Senri Minamisuwa plus Takuru Miyashiro. Team F, Denki Kaminari plus Kyoka Jiro. Team G, Tsuyu Azui plus Fumikage Tokoyami. Team H, Sato Rikido plus Kota Koji. Team I, Mina Ishido plus Eijiro Kirishima. Team J, Mashareo Ojiro plus Toru Hagakure. Uraraka heads up to Midoriya, demonstrating her excitement to work together. Takuru heads to Senri. It's a bit of a coincidence we're together, huh? We know each other, so I'm sure we'll do well. Yes, I'm sure we'll do great. Senri seemed fine with the teaming. She was somewhat excited too. I declare that the first teams to fight will be these guys. All Might takes out 2 ball. The villain team will be Team D, and the heroes team will be Team E. Sheet. Team E will be the heroes. Team D will be the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch. Yes, sir. We're the bottom 2 of our class in performance. Going up against 3rd and 4th. Senri states. Their odds of victory looked slim, indeed. But Takuru began thinking right away. If they wanted to win this, they needed to communicate very effectively. Battle tower it. Bad guys, you can go on in and get set up. In 5 minutes, the good guys will let loose and the battle will start. Yes, sir. Young Ida. Young Bakugo. The key to being successful in this challenge is to embody villainy. Think from the perspective of an evildoer. If things go too far, I'll step in. Understood. Ida responded. Bakugo didn't. The 2 entered. Young Miyashiro. Young Minamisuwa. I wish you both good luck. Yes, sir. Senri replied, but Takuru was still thinking. All Might left the 2. So, you've been thinking for a while now. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of how to approach this situation, given your quirk. Do you have something in mind? Well, BT. Inside. Think this will work? Senri asked. She provided input on the plan, but even she was unsure. With your ways of getting this to work, yeah. We should be able to do it. Bakugo should be coming shortly, given his rash nature. Once he does, we'll do as discussed. We might be bottom 2, but we'll change that with this single battle. Alright, just better hope your theory on your own quirk is correct. The 2 make it up to the 2nd floor, they hear the sounds of footsteps. He's here. Senri, move to the ideal position, I'll take point. Got it. Senri moved further down the hall, as Takuru took a route to confront the mysterious figure. There you are. Bakugo was walking down the hall, and raised his hand towards Takuru once he stepped in front of him. Sheet. Wrong turn. Takuru says, but in truth, he planned this. He takes out his Invisi-Sword as an explosion is erupted forth. Takuru uses his Invisi-Sword to mitigate the impact. Still standing? Fine, I'll just take you down. He charges forward, but Takuru aims his Invisi-Sword at Bakugo. Just think. Think of the planning. You think your quirk is making things a reality? Senri asks. Well, it seems unnatural, doesn't it? On top of my sword, I can move objects, teleport, and even use water. It does take a toll on my mind, but… Well, let's say that is the case. What next? The main part of our plan will boil down to drawing Bakugo out. Knowing his eruptive nature, no pun intended, he'll likely come towards us, leaving Ida to defend the bomb by himself. You've only known him for a day, why do you think that? Senri seemed somewhat confused, but then again, Takuru is more analytical than most people she knows. He seemed very insistent on violence. He was excited at thought of combat training, and even asked how much we can hurt the other teams. He'll want to get his hands on us as soon as possible, and as we don't stand a chance. So you want to use your quirk somehow to distract Bakugo and… Oh, present. Smoke. Yes, smoke. Takuru blinks, and Smokes was coming for the sword. Gah, what the hell is this sheet? Bakugo steps back, trying to get the smoke away from him. Alright, that's the first step done. Takuru ran in right away to engage Bakugo as much as he could. Monitor. What is he doing? Yaoyorozu asked no one in particular, watching the screen. He's engaging Bakugo in a head-on fight. That's bold as hell. Kirishima stated. Miyashiro, what are you? Hey, isn't that Senri? Uraraka was questioning what she was seeing, before she noticed another figure running into the smoke. Oh, so that's their plan. Guess I should have guessed it sooner. Shinji says to himself. BT. Inside. Takuru's Invisi-Sword collides with Bakugo's gauntlets, but Takuru's physical strength was not enough to cut through, so Bakugo was able to repel him very easily. What kind of cheap trick was that? What are you trying to pull? He was distracted and didn't notice anything. Alright, just got to keep him busy. Another explosion came from Bakugo, as he leaped forwards at Takuru. He jumped past the intersection, getting out of sight for a second. He needs to just hold him off. Get back here, you son of a beach. Bakugo began chasing Takuru like his life depended on it. Sorry, not feeling it. Takuru keeps running. He's not confident enough to use his quirk on demand, so he wants to avoid risks. Taking another turn to avoid another explosion from Bakugo, he holds position at the corner and gets ready to swing his sword at Bakugo when he comes around the corner. True to his prediction, Bakugo felt the hard side of Takuru's Invisi-Sword to the face, knocking him back. He's strong, it won't hold him back, so Takuru takes the chance to run downstairs. Even if that Minamisua beach gets past, someone like Ida can just hold her off. Just gotta get this annoying little sheet. Monitor. Hey. Miyashiro's running down. Is he drawing Bakugo away? Hagakure points out. Their plan must be to have to Minamisua rush the bomb, and Miyashiro lures Bakugo. Not a bad plan, but Minamisua's not fast enough to deal with Ida's speed and strength. Midoriya comments. Hey, why is Bakugo heading back to the bomb room? Wasn't he chasing Miyashiro? Todoroki questions, watching the screen. What are you talking about? Bakugo's on the first floor. Ashido looks at what Todoroki was seeing, and… No way. BT. Bomb room. The door opens, revealing Bakugo coming in. He said, Bakugo, have you come to your senses? Ida questions, seeing him come in. Those BSers are hiding away like rats, so I might as well wait here for them. They'll absolutely come here. Bakugo speaks up. I see. A full defense will be good, in order to wait out the timer. Be on your guard. Ida strategizes. Got it? While Ida intently watches the door, Bakugo gets closer to the bomb. BT. Inside. Takuru is fighting for his life against Bakugo on the first floor. He is struggling to stay standing and keep up with the explosive freak, but he continues to evade by cutting corners. That's his only method of survival. Stop running, you little sheet. Bakugo screams out, and Takuru stands center of the hallway. Finally gave up on running, did you? Takuru looks at Bakugo intently. Fine then. You want to die so bad? Then have it your way. Bakugo readies the pin on his wrist gauntlet. Checkmate. Huh. Bakugo yells out, and before he pulls the pin, the bomb has been secured. I repeat, the villain's weapon has been secured. The heroes have won. Bomb room. Bakugo gets closer to the bomb and touches it. Is something the matter, Bakugo? Ida comes a bit closer to Bakugo. Sorry, I don't like being associated with him too much. Bakugo taps his face with his hand, and... No, that's impossible. Senri stood there, hand on the weapon. The bomb has been secured. I repeat, the villain's weapon has been secured. The heroes have won. Senri Minamiswa Quirk, shapeshift, she can transform into any person she touches for a certain PRD of time. She can inherit the physical strengths of the person she shapeshifts into, but not the quirks or mental strengths. Perfect for stealth. Monitor. No way, a shapeshifting quirk? Midoriya was excited right away. He took out his notebook and got writing. So that was their plan. To have Minamiswa shapeshift into Bakugo and fool Ida. That's incredible. Yaoyorozu comments. Wow. Senri just got like 1,000,000 times cooler. Ashido began to praise. Results room. Bakugo, Ida, Senri, and Takuru were lined up. The screen above displayed that Team E won and Team D lost. A fine show of deception. Now, as for the MVP of this exercise. While it was a struggle to determine the MVP of this round, I decided to hand it to both members of Team E, young Miyashiro and young Minamiswa. This was not really a big surprise, but some were still shocked by 2 MVPs being selected. Would anyone care to guess why I decided to just go for both? Sir, I can tell you why. Yaoyorozu raised her hand. Then explain. Takura Miyashiro and Senri Minamiswa worked together extraordinarily well as a team. They were both used to being together, and provided inputs on their strategy together with minimal time wasted. The plan had worked flawlessly by strategizing their actions beforehand and predicting their opponent's actions. While risky, their strategy had reasonable basis to perform and were able to succeed. Miyashiro was to use his quirk to smokescreen Bakugo and then distract him with an attack from the front so he wouldn't notice Minamiswa touching him from behind to transform into him, and Miyashiro would subsequently lure Bakugo away to avoid risk of Ida hearing the battle. If they had lacked any amount of communication, the 2 bottom students of this class would have lost. And if it adds on to anything, Ida was unfortunately unable to play a major role in the battle between heroes and villains, but was smart to remain behind, defend, and play the part of villain, while Bakugo went on ahead and fell right into Team E's trap. Guess we're still considered the bottom, huh? Takuru muttered. That might change soon, though. Senri added. All Might seemed a little shocked and impressed from her detailed explanation. But he gets back to speaking. Yes, you nailed it. He gives her a thumbs up. One should always start with the basics wholeheartedly to learning. That's the only real way to become a top hero. Now then, as much as we all have questions for young Miyashiro's versatile and mysterious quirk, we should blow this joint for now onto the next match. Think about everything you saw, and discuss as you tackle this training for yourself. Yes, sir. Monitor. Match 2. Team B will be the heroes, and Team J will be the villains. So this is how you guys watched our match? Takuru asks the class as he sees the monitor. It's displaying the entrance to Battle Tower B, as well as several locations within the tower, including the bomb room. There's no sound, though, so we could only guess what was happening based on the movement of your mouths. Midoriya clarified. Look alive, kids. Show us you're the embodiment of good. Or evil. Let's go. The 15-minute timer began. Just curious, how much time did we have left in our round? Senri asked. About 11 minutes, Karo. You got past them quickly. Ashui said. If only I had caught on to your plan sooner. I am ashamed that I was deceived so easily. Ida says to himself, taking it hard. Hey, don't worry about it, Ida. Half of us didn't even realize what was going on when we saw 2 Bakugos for at least a moment. Kaminari said, trying to comfort him. Hey guys. Look at Shoji. Uraraka says, pointing to a monitor inside the building's hallways. Mizo Shoji seemed to be duplicating his limbs. Mizo Shoji Quirk, dupli arms. He can replicate different limbs on the tips of his tentacles. Todoroki seems to be advancing forward, and his hand looks like it's. Oh, this isn't good for the defensive team. Takuru says. Huh. Senri seems confused, and then, in an instant, the entire building froze over as Shoji exited. What the? That's insane. This much ice is. Everyone could feel the ice from that distance. Ichi incapacitated them without compromising the weapon or his teammate. Take note of his technique, students. All Might is clearly impressed. Why are you guys shivering? Takuru asks, bluntly. W.O. He's so strong, Kirishima says. Understatement of the decade. The hero team wins. Todoroki melts the ice over, causing the entire building to be filled with scalding water. Shoto Todoroki Quirk, half cold, half hot, he freezes with his right side and burns with his left. Time passes. After that battle, Team B received an overwhelming victory, resulting Teams E and B to have a victory thus far, with Teams J and D having losses. The next battle pitted Team F as heroes against Team G as villains. Team F did a good job at scouting out the building at first, using Jiro to figure out where their opponents were located and having Kaminari use his electricity to light up the areas where it was dark. Ajui's speed managed to take down Jiro, and Tokoyami brought down Kaminari during the confusion. Overall, a solid victory for Team G. Still, they had to improvise their ambush, leading to respect between the two teams. The next battle would be between Team I as heroes and Team H as villains. Koji was able to use his quirk to identify where the heroes were moving, while Rikido was stocked on sugar, ready to enter Sugar Rush. But when the time came to deal with a full frontal assault, Kirishima was able to push past Rikido's Sugar Rush, or at least enough for Ashido to use her acid to scare off the villains into creating an opening for her straight to the weapon, resulting in a sudden victory from Team I. It now leads to the last battle. Results room. And with that analysis of the battle complete, we shall now move on to the final battle. Team A will be the heroes, and Team C will be the villains. Are both teams prepared to make their preparations? Why, sir? Midoriya seemed nervous. Midoriya and Uraraka will be going against Shinji and Yaoyorozu. It honestly looks like Shinji's team might win this, but then again, there's so little we know about Midoriya's quirk. Yaoyorozu can create objects, but we're ready to move, Yaoyorozu said. Guess she was planning for this for a while. Monitor. All Might entered, about a minute after the preparations timer began. 4 minutes remained until the battle started. So, who do you think is gonna win? Senri asked. Well, Shinji's team has the inherent advantage. With a quirk like Yaoyorozu's, they'll be able to create any defensive measures they see fit. On the other hand, Midoriya has the power to break through just about anything, provided Uraraka can swoop in and finish the job for him. But Shinji can also propel water, meaning even with zero gravity, as long as he has basic accuracy, neither of Team A is getting close to the bomb. Takuru explained his reasoning. It's difficult to imagine which one of the two teams will come out on top, given that Midoriya has pulled off impossible odds before. And also given that you two pulled a win over 3 and 4. Ashido said to the pair. Yes, but this time, they're also going up against number 1 in the class. Aside from having a strong quirk, there's no doubt she has a solid defensive plan to account for Midoriya's quirk. Ida points out. Sorry, Shinji. Just this once, I'm gonna place my faith in Midoriya. Main, Izuku M. Battle Tower. If we're certain that's what we're going to do, then we should be good to go. Uraraka said to Izuku. There's no doubt that with Yaoyorozu's quirk, she'll be aiming for a defensive measure. Plus, Ida has a quirk that lets him use large amounts of water, and he seemed to have something that lets him refill mid-battle. We can't expect to win by endurance alone, given I only have 10 shots with full power of 1 for all, thanks to my fingers, but I can't just use them against people. Our best shot at winning is to think outside the box, catch them by surprise. Deku? You're staring off into space again. Uraraka snapped Izuku out of his trance. Oh, right. Let's get going. Begin the final match. 15 minutes to investigate and secure the bomb. I've got a risky plan in mind if I can figure out what Yaoyorozu and Ito are going to do, but it's the best we've got. The duo entered the building and began their exploration of the first floor. You said they'll want to try and avoid us from figuring out how to get in as much as possible? Uraraka said. Yeah. Yaoyorozu's quirk, creation, lets her create just about anything. Meaning, it's more than likely she created some sort of super strong barricade for the bomb room. I can use my own quirk to create a way in, but it'll cost me a lot. As Mr. Aizawa said, if I go all out, I'll be out of the battle. I'll have to use weaker blasts using my fingers to break in for minimal injuries. Deku, we're on the 3rd floor now. Where they might be, Uraraka said, starting at Izuku. He seemed to be mumbling. Right. The duo investigated the floor. Izuku kept walking around until he found Uraraka standing next to a door. She moved her finger over her mouth for a gesture. Izuku nodded and came closer. This door was barricaded, so there's no doubt. We have about 12 minutes left, and we'll need to get in fast. What's the approach? Uraraka asked. I have a crazy idea that might just work. Your actions are already crazy enough as is. We really don't have a choice here, do we though? No, I suppose not. Just don't hurt yourself too much, Deku? Alright. The duo moved up to the 4th floor. Uraraka, how dense would you say the floor is? Where is this going? Uraraka asked. I'm going to break the floor right above the bomb room. That's actually a good idea. And since they're holed up in there, we can get the exact location down without worry. Uraraka smiled at the idea. Not because Izuku is going to hurt himself because of it, though. After spending the next 5 minutes looking around the 4th floor, they finally were able to identify a spot right above the bomb room. That took longer than it should have. But this should be good, Izuku said, analyzing the floor and getting ready to hurt himself to break in. Alright, I'm ready to go, Uraraka says, standing behind Izuku. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The two said in unison, as Izuku's finger had red lines glow around it. One for all coursed right through it, and Izuku flicked it towards the ground. The sheer force of One for All's power caused a massive burst of energy to be blasted in one direction towards the floor, causing the floor to give way, creating it to fall below. What the dash? Itu was the first of the two to notice. He turned around and up to see the pair launching a surprise attack. Uraraka wasted no time jumping down on top of him, aiming to use her zero gravity on him. Itu. This is... Yaoyorozu finally noticed, but Izuku had already jumped down, running to the bomb placed behind Yaoyorozu. If he was going to get to it, he was going through Yaoyorozu first, who took out a metal pipe. Itu used his quirk to propel himself away from Uraraka and regain his footing. I didn't expect you both to just come from the ceiling, Itu said, standing firm. Deku's more amazing than you guys think, Uraraka said, certainly not shy of giving out compliments. She begins charging towards Shinji, who began drinking from his water pack and firing off at Uraraka simultaneously. She attempted to dodge, but she was being held back, which gave enough time for him to position him next to Yaoyorozu, who was being pushed back by Izuku at the time. Alright, there's 4 minutes on the clock. If we can just hold them off, or take them down now, we can do this, Yaoyorozu said, but that seemed to just only motivated Izuku even further as he charged straight to engage in combat with 2 people at once. His carelessness resulted in him being held back by Itu's water blasting, but that provided an opportunity for Uraraka to run from the side and put her hand on Itu, and cause him to start floating. Uraraka then grabbed him and tossed him to the other side of the room, so he couldn't hold them back. Spoke too soon, Uraraka shouted as she did so. At the same time, Izuku was engaging in fisticuffs with someone who held a blunt weapon. His left pointy finger was broken, but that didn't stop him from being a threat as he used rubble around him to block blows. Eventually, he threw the rubble at Yaoyorozu, who was forced to block with the metal pipe she wielded, which gave an opening for Izuku to run to her side and hit her head with his fist from behind. While he wasn't using One for All here, he was physically trained enough that it'd be enough to put her down. That's that. As Uraraka fully tossed Itu away, and Izuku disarmed Yaoyorozu, they both ran to the weapon and touched it at the same time. The bomb has been secured. I repeat, the villain's weapon has been secured. The heroes have won. The bomb has been secured. I repeat, the villain's weapon has been secured. The heroes have won. How did I not plan for this? Yaoyorozu said to herself. She seemed disappointed it ended like this. And release. Uraraka said as she tapped her hands together. It too subsequently fell back down to the floor. That was amazing, Deku. Why yeah, I guess it was. I really hope that was a good impression. Izuku scratched the back of his head. DMN. I don't think either of us could have anticipated that. Ito had got up and came closer to the two. If you think this was crazy, you should have seen what he did during the practical exam. Uraraka said, crossing her arms. Yeah. Leaped up in the sky and punched that 0-pointer, right in the face, right? Still can't really imagine it myself. Yeah. Even I surprised myself with what I did. Though it hurt a lot afterwards, but not for the moment. Probably because of the adrenaline. I'll help Yaoyorozu. You two can go on ahead. Uraraka said, going to help Yaoyorozu up. Well, let's go MVP. It is said with a wink at Izuku. Right? Episode 3, What Makes a Leader? Teach Ground Beta. Main, Takurim. The sounds of whistling can be heard as Class 1A gathers at the entrance in front of All Might. That's a wrap. Super work. You really stepped up to the plate, and we didn't have any major injuries except for Midoriya's finger. You should be proud. Excellent first day of training all around. All Might gives a thumbs up. It's nice to hear some encouraging words after our homeroom class. Mr. Aizawa was kind of a buzzkill, Azui says, and most students nodded in agreement, with others thinking about her words. Bakugo has been reactionless for a while now. I'm happy to bring such staggering positivity to my class. That's all for now, folks. I should go and sort out the results of this exercise. Now, watch how a pro exits. Like he's got somewhere to be. All Might runs off at very high speeds. Holy! He's really fast. Okay, you guys. That is a hero. Kaminari says. I'll never be able to run that fast. Ojiro says, recognizing All Might's speed once again. So cool. Shinji says. Classroom 1. The bell rings, signifying the end of afternoon classes. That's all for today, class. Continue to study the materials given today, and don't slack off. Aizawa says, leaving the classroom almost right away. Alright, time to go home and... Hey, Miyashiro. Kirishima comes over to Takuru's desk. Takuru is a bit confused by the sudden walkover. It wasn't long before his desk was surrounded. Everyone please give him space. Ida asks the class, but no one was really listening. They all had their own questions. Dude, what kind of stuff can you do with your Invisi-Sword? You and Senri showed Bakugo what's what. What are your limits to your quirk? Everyone, please, one at a time. Takuru tried to say, after being bombarded with questions. Truth be told, I still don't know much. Actually the door to the classroom opens yet again. Aizawa enters. Takuru Miyashiro, head to the staff room. And right after that he's gone. Mr. Aizawa? What could he want with Miyashiro? Ajiax. Most of the other students are just as confused. It might have something to do with his quirk. He seemed surprised during the assessment test. Midoriya points out. Hope you didn't get in trouble? Sato says, backing away to let Takuru go. Yeah, thanks. I'll see you guys later, then. Takuru says, leaving the classroom. UA staff room. Takuru opens the door to the room, to see Aizawa and Principal Nizu already waiting inside. Takuru began to say before interrupted. There's no need to be frightened. Have a seat. Are you a coffee person? Principal Nizu says, sitting on one couch and gesturing Takuru to sit in the chair across the coffee table. Takuru nods and takes his seat. I think you can guess why you're here. It's about your quirk? Aizawa says, looking directly at Takuru. So you know You don't know much about what your quirk truly is, correct? Nizu says, interrupting Takuru. Your registration form states that your quirk is use of your Invisi-Sword, a sword that you can make visible and invisible at will. It also becomes physical when visible. You can tell when it's in either state by the colored glow it emits. Purple when visible, and blue when invisible. Aizawa explains. That's what I thought for the longest time, Takuru said, looking down. He's a bit stressed for this meeting now. We suspected there was more to your quirk during the practical exam, when you used water and teleportation, and possibly even a form of telekinesis. Nizu explains. Takura's mind wanders back to that day. And now, according to the report from All Might, you were able to use smoke to create a smoke screen during combat training. And yet, you had no idea you could do any of this until recently. Aizawa adds on, holding papers from today's combat training. What are you trying to say? Takuru asks. I'm saying that, due to how uncertain your quirk is and with its many practical uses, you'll be given an extra class after school focused on testing out your quirk. There's too many uncertainties, and knowing what causes it to tick and what you can do with it is what the school board has deemed necessary. Aizawa gets up, leaving the papers behind. Otherwise, your classes will continue as normal. Just be prepared to do what it takes to catch up, given your lack of quirk training. Aizawa leaves the room. Takuru seemed to be relieved that's all it was, and was kind of excited to try and learn more. Is that all? Takuru asks Nizu. Not quite. I would also like to introduce you to the person who will be teaching your extra class. Nizu says. It's not Mr. Aizawa? Who could it be? Takuru didn't have to wonder long. I am here. Closing the door quietly like a secretive person, All Might enters the room, costume worn and everything. Seriously? Takuru exclaims. This was the last person he expected. All Might takes his seat next to Nizu. Truth be told, I was surprised when I was offered this myself. However, after Principal Nizu gave his reasoning, how could I refuse? What was his reasoning? All Might choked up right there. It seemed to be something secretive. It's nothing you'll need to worry about, Miyashiro. Just know that I assigned All Might to training your quirk since he would also help improve your physical capabilities. That does make sense. Aside from Senri, I'm the weakest in the class, physically. I'm going to need physical training if I plan to keep up at all. Your extra class begins tomorrow. I look forward to training you, young Miyashiro, All Might said with a hint of excitement. Takuru could barely keep his excitement in. I can't believe it. I'm being personally trained by All Might. This has got to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Okay, then that is settled. You looks forward to seeing how your quirk grows, Miyashiro, Nizu says with a smile on his face. Then again, it's almost always on his face, anyways. Keep it together. It starts tomorrow. Should I tell Nono? Wait, no, she'd just get more worried. Would my class know? Takuru goes into an internal debate with himself, thinking of the implications. Nizu and All Might begin to whisper while he can't hear them. You know, he quite reminds me of your successor. Nizu whispers to All Might. He does bear similarities to young Midoriya, this is true. It would be good for them to bond, as they might work well together. All Might states in a hushed whisper to Nizu. Takuru finally stops his internal mumbling. Sorry, I guess I should go now, huh? Takuru says, looking bashful. Thank you for your time, Miyashiro. Nizu says as Takuru gets up towards the door. He looks towards All Might once more, before leaving. Before he left, Takuru could have sworn he saw some smoke being emitted, but didn't pay it any heed. The sun is setting, as Takuru exits the front doors. It's rather quiet, most of the students have already left by this point. Midoriya was standing out front, there. Midoriya? Takuru speaks up. Miyashiro. How did that meeting go? Midoriya asked. He seemed to have just finished something. It went well. How's your finger? Takuru asked. After the training exercise, Midoriya had to go to the nurse's office as usual. It seemed to be bandaged this time. It's fine. I'm a bit tired now, like last time, but I'll be fine. Takuru moved to his side, and they both started to walk past the gate. That was clever what you did during training. Creating a way in past Yaoyorozu's defenses while also getting the upper hand and minimizing your own injuries. Knowing Yaoyorozu's quirk, she wasn't going to let us in easily. We had to think of a way to brute force our way in without hurting ourselves too much. Midoriya explains. But you shouldn't sell yourself short. You did amazing holding up against Kaken, and deceiving their team. Kaken? Takuru tilted his head. Is that what you call Bakugo? Oh yeah. It's just a nickname I gave him that kind of stuck. Kind of like Deku? Takuru asked, just to clarify. Not really. It's a play on the kanji used to spell my name. If you mess around with it, you can get Deku. I don't really know them well, so I shouldn't stick my head in their business. Still, I am a little concerned. Well, hey, we both did well during the exercise. Yeah. Your quirk is amazing. I hear you can teleport as well. Midoriya began to get excited. I still can hardly believe about what I'm really capable of. I'm trying to think of what it means, but... Takura begins to scratch his cheek with one finger, thinking about his quirk. You mentioned yesterday you don't know much about it, but today you managed to create smoke. Do you have an idea now? Something like that? I think maybe it's a longing or something. If I think about something, it becomes a reality. Like a wish? Midoriya asked. It seemed to be a fair comparison. What? You want me to call this the wish sword now? Takuru's Invisi-Sword glowed purple. That's not a bad name, actually. Given what we know so far, it might just be more accurate than just Invisi-Sword. Maybe call it the Wish Blade? Midoriya suggested. Well, that's not that bad, actually. Wish Blade? Takuru looked upwards. Coming to UA, he's slowly coming to understand his self, his power. Is it normal to be so interested in yourself? He would have to put off those thoughts for now because right now he has a family to get back to. He looked back over to Midoriya, who seemed to cheer up as the two walked together. Outside UA. That's a problem. The next day had come. Takuru walked close to the front entrance of UA, only to see a large crowd gathering in the front. Are they interviewers? Takuru began to make his way over and through the crowd. However, as he reached the end of it, he was stopped by a female reporter. Excuse me, are you one of All Might's students? Can you tell us how he fares as a teacher? This is going to be a problem. Well, he does a good job at being motivational, Takuru says for an answer, hoping it would be enough. Thankfully, before he was pressured even more, Ida came through the crowd as well. Sorry, Ida. Good luck. Takuru took that chance to book it as Ida took the attention. Classroom 1. Guess the news that All Might had been hired as a teacher at UA took the nation by surprise. No wonder there's so many reporters out there. Decent work on yesterday's combat training, guys. I saw the video feeds and went over each of your team's results. Aizawa began to speak to the class. Bakugo, you're talented, so don't sulk like a child about your loss, okay? Yeah, whatever. Bakugo seemed to be calmer? It's hard to describe. And Miyashiro? Yes, sir. Takuru quickly responded. You won yesterday's match through a risky plan that you didn't know if it would work, especially through the use of the smoke. You're smart to figure out what you can do this quickly, but make sure to get a better understanding of your plans beforehand. Oh, of course, Mr. Aizawa. And lastly, Midoriya. Once again, the only way you were able to win was because you broke your finger. It did come down to combat between your team and your opponents, but you can't keep breaking your bones, Aizawa stated. Midoriya's plan did let him show just how effective his quirk can be without completely breaking himself, but it did come at a cost. Midoriya looked down when Aizawa made his statement. But your quirk will be really useful if you can get a handle on it. So show a little urgency, huh? Midoriya perked up at that. Right? Let's get down to business. Aizawa placed down the papers he used. Our first task will decide your future. A wave of dread washed over everyone at that. You all need to pick a class representative. The same wave was replaced by relief. Class representative, huh? I was newspaper club president, so... Pick me, guys. Kirishima stood up, followed by others trying to get elected. That alright? It's a bit more than that in UA, helping you get noticed by other hero agencies and the like. Silence, everyone. Please. Ida spoke up and got everyone's attention. The class representative's duty is to lead others, and it's not something anyone can do. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. We will hold an election to determine our leader. Most students in unison pointed out Ida just wanted them to vote for him, but others started to raise concerns how we've all only known each other for a few days. Won't most people just vote for themselves? Kirishima points out. Most people will. But that means that those who do receive multiple votes must be the most suited person for the job. It's the best way, right, sir? Ida stated, before turning to Aizawa, who somehow gotten into his sleeping bag during all that. Do whatever, just decide before my nap's over. He subsequently fell over. Excuse me, if I might add a better way to handle this, Ida? Takuru stood up. Yes, Miyashiro? Everyone turned to Takuru. Depress. You were president of the newspaper club before, you can handle this. Why don't we instead hold 2 election votes? Those who receive 2 votes or more can move into the second vote, where we'll properly determine the class representative. Takuru explains. That's not a bad idea, Ribbit. Given that some people have friend groups in class, it'll be the best way to narrow our votes down even after they get a bit of trust. Ashui says, being in agreement. Yeah, I can get behind that idea. Kirishima says. I see. You are certainly one step ahead, Miyashiro. Listen up, one. We will hold 2 votes. The first will determine who will move on into the second vote. Anyone with 2 votes or more will move on into the second vote as candidates. Are we in agreement? Yes. Vote 1 results. 2 votes, Masahiro Ojiro, Momo Yaoyorozu. 3 votes, Izuku Midoriya, Takuru Miyashiro. Itu and Senri voted for me, I'm guessing. How did I get 3 votes? Midoriya shouted out in surprise. All right, you idiots. Who voted for him? Bakugo stood up and shouted, demanding to know. What, did you really think anyone would vote for you? Shinji said. He certainly had a backbone and a half. Takuru looked across his row and saw Uraraka whistling away. He also saw a smile from Senri. Turning to the front, Ida shuddered a bit. Seems he's being hit hard by the fact he got 0 votes. Ahem. Now that the first round of elective voting is finished, we can move on to the second vote. Please, re-vote, but keep your votes to the 4 names here. Ojiro, Yaoyorozu, Midoriya, and Miyashiro. Ida stood up, recovering himself. Everyone began to put in their votes. Vote 2 results. Bakugo, you cannot abstain. Ida confronts Bakugo. Tisich, what does it matter to me? None of these shitheads are good for leading our class anyways. Bakugo retorts. Nope, hasn't calmed down at all. JJ, fine. Then here are the results now. Here it comes. Masahiro Ojiro, 4 votes. Momo Yaoyorozu, 4 votes. Izuku Midoriya, 6 votes. Takuru Miyashiro, 5 votes. That's actually a bit surprising. Do note that Bakugo had abstained from the vote, but otherwise, these are the results. As such, Midoriya will be class rep and Miyashiro will be the deputy. Any objections? Ida says, raising the question to the class. Other than Bakugo's hint of annoyance, no known objections. In fact, there was support. You know, this might not be so bad. Ashui says. Yeah, I can get behind Midoriya leading our class. Plus, Miyashiro's pretty smart when it comes down to it. Kirishima says as well. I heard he got 2nd place during the written part of the practical exam. He's a bit of a nerd when he wants to. Shinji adds on. Don't drag my reputation through the mud. It's only day 3. Honestly, I'm just surprised I got as far as I did. I think those 2 will do a good job leading us, though. Ojiro says, a bit bashful. Aizawa gets up to the stand. Alright, the class rep is Midoriya. And our deputy is Miyashiro. Midoriya and Miyashiro also came up. Midoriya couldn't stop chattering. Really? It's not a mistake. Come on, Midoriya, pull yourself together. Takuru tried to whisper to help him get some self-confidence, but it didn't do much. Class went on like normal until lunch. Cafeteria. It's always so crowded in here. Uraraka says from across the table. Midoriya, Ida, Uraraka, Shinji, Senri, and Miyashiro all sat together. The former 3 on one side, and the latter 3 on the other. That's because students in the support, management, and hero classes all share the same cafeteria. Ida says as Uraraka digs into her white rice. This rice is delicious. Uraraka says with joy, and Senri nods in agreement. I agree. I should ask about the recipe. Maybe me and Nono could learn how to cook this? Senri says. Oh, you cook? Maybe we should get together sometime. Uraraka says to Senri. She was a bit taken back by this offer, but Senri nods slowly, with a good smile on her face. Yes. I'd like that. I'm sure Nono would like to have you, and maybe even Yui and Yuto. Right, Taku? Senri says, turning to Takuru. He sat in between Itu and Senri. Yeah. We don't get many friends over, so they'd be happy to see guests. Takuru says. It's nice to have made these friends early on. Hey, Midoriya. Something the matter? Shinji looks over at Midoriya, who was only digging into his food much more slowly than his friends. Guys, I'm kind of worried about the whole class rep thing. I don't think I'm qualified, Midoriya says. He really lacked self-confidence. Sure you are, Uraraka says with a prideful smile. Yeah, I think you'll do great. Plus, you have me as your deputy, Takuru adds. He seemed to take a bit of pride of being in some leader position. Yeah, did you guys know Taku was the newspaper club president back at Hekiho Middle School? Senri also adds on, adding to Takuru's image. Really? Then that makes him a qualified deputy. And Midoriya, hold yourself with higher regard. Your courage and quick thinking under stress will help make you a worthy leader, not to mention the strength you've demonstrated. Those are the reasons I voted for you, at least. Ida says, revealing that he had voted for Midoriya and his own reasons. Wait, you were one of the first three? Midoriya asks. Ida went back to eating as he was talked to. Didn't you want to be rep really badly though? You look the part about as much as Takuru here does, Shinji says. Wanting a job and being suited to it are quite different things. Ida takes a sip from his orange juice. Observing the Ida family's hero agency has taught me that much. Agency? Midoriya, Uraraka, and Shinji all said at once. Hold on, what does your family do? Takuru asks. Oh, it's nothing. Ida tries to dodge the question. You know, I've been wondering about something. Admitted Ida. You're filthy rich. Uraraka shoots her question, and by Ida's reaction, it was a bullseye. I was afraid people would treat me differently if they knew about my family. That perked up everyone's curiosity. Ida sighed and got to explaining. You see, the Idas have been pro-heroes for generations. It runs in our blood. What? That's awesome. Are the five of you familiar with the turbo hero, Ingenium? That's why his costume was so familiar. I know all about him. He's a super popular pro with 65 sidekicks following alongside him at his Tokyo agency. Izuku got to fanboying his knowledge. Wait, don't tell me Dash. He's my elder brother. Ida stood tall and proudly. Your family's famous. I can't believe it. Wow, that's awesome. I had no idea. Ingenium is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code. The second oldest Ida's son, I strive to be just like him. However, I think it might be soon for me to be in a real leadership role. Ida explains and turns to Midoriya. You and Miyashiro, for instance, figured out what the judges were looking for during the practical exam. A rep needs that sort of insight. Ida smiled as he explained. That led to a bit of shock from the group. I don't think we've seen you smile before, Ida, Senri says. Yeah, you should do it more. You wear it pretty well. Shinji adds he seemed to be enjoying this conversation. What are you talking about? I smile all the time. He looks up to his elder brother. To be honest, there's no real specific hero I look up to. Sure, I look up to heroes like All Might for his heroism and Best Jeanist for his stoicism and kindness. But I can't think of a specific hero I've looked up to help me motivate myself for my goals as an aspiring hero. Still, he shouldn't be hard on himself. Ida would do really well as a leader. I'm sure both me and Midoriya were clueless in that test, or at least I was. Plus, I also saw the villain bots and... Hey, so, about that practical exam dash, Midoriya begins to speak, before an alarm bell begins to ring. What is that? Ida perks up first. Warning. Level 3 security breach. All students, please evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. The announcer comes on and speaks. Senri turns to one of the nearby tables with students. Hey, what's a level 3 security breach? She asks. It means someone's managed to get past the school's security barrier. This hasn't happened in my 3 years here. You guys should get going. The students of that table began to leave, and the group of 6 that was just enjoying themselves all got up as well. 2 hallways. It was a stampede. The hallways were clogged with students trying to get past each other through the hallway and into the emergency stairs. Everyone was screaming and panicking. Gah, I can't get through. So many people. Takuru struggled to get through for the next few minutes. He couldn't see where Uraraka and everyone went. Taku. Itu? Senri's voice was unmistakable through all the chaos and confusion. Senri. Takuru's mind went to focus on helping out Senri. Where is she? Takuru focused on trying to follow the voice of Senri until he could see the short pink-haired girl. Senri. Takuru yelled out. Senri turned to face Takuru, and he reached his hand out to her. She didn't think twice about taking it, and they were able to pull each other close. Thanks. No problem. Hey, is that Ida up there? Takuru said, seeing Ida flying and spinning above. He landed on the wall above the exit, and, listen up. Everything is okay. Everyone stopped moving and panicking for a second. It's just the media outside. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. We're UA students. We need to remain calm and prove we're the best of the best. Is that true? Could some media get past that barrier? Still, if this state of calm is keeping up, that must be true. And it's Ida telling us as well. Takuru breathed a deep sign of relief. Hey, the police are here, a student said, looking out the window. Sure enough, everyone can hear police sirens. Alright, that's over. Phew. Senri breathed a sign of relief. Yeah. It wasn't that big of a deal. Takuru turned to see Senri, only to just now realize he was holding her rather close, practically hugging her. When he gets concerned about others, he tends to think safety first, feelings later. Suffice to say, he didn't let go for a second. Tried as he might to deny it, he liked this comfort a bit, but not for a second more when he split. You just now noticed that? Sheesh, you're really on the spots when it comes to it, Senri says, getting all pouty in front of Takuru. A bit of red creeped up to his cheeks, but he didn't want to think of it too much. Soon, everyone got back to class. Classroom 1. Alright, class representative, let's get started. Takuru says. Class is about to continue, and Midoriya is shaking yet again. He is clearly not used to this position. Okay, so we need to figure out who the other class officers will be. But first, there's something I want to say. Takuru turned to face Midoriya. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. I thought a lot about this, and I think Tenya Ida should be our class rep. Suffice to say, it caught a few people off guard. He was able to capture everyone's attention and get us in line. So I believe he should be the one leading our class from now on, Midoriya says, calming down and bringing forth his small bit of daily courage. Takuru could see that Ida seemed a little. Yeah, you know what? If Midoriya vouches for him, I'm good. Plus, he was a big help. He totally manned up and took charge, Kirishima says, in full support of this decision. Plus, did you notice he looked like the dude on the emergency exit signs when he was on the wall earlier? Kaminari added. This is a waste of time, Aizawa says while sitting down, catching Midoriya off guard. Aizawa loves that sleeping bag. I don't care who the rep is, just hurry up. He falls over and sleeps on his side. Ida stands up from his desk. If Midoriya is nominating me for this job, then I humbly accept. I pledge to carry out my duties as Class 1A rep to the best of my abilities. With his hand raised high, Midoriya smiled. Takuru couldn't help but smile a bit as well. Sounds good, emergency exit, Kirishima says. Emergency exit Ida. Don't let us down, man, Kaminari adds. A boy scratched his neck. His skin was pale, and his face was covered by a stiff hand. I trust you've gathered our forces, Kurojairi? The boy asked the mysterious purple fog, Cleaning the bar counter. Yes. What you found at UA thanks to your diversion proved helpful for this operation. Kurogiri said. I see. Finally, time to get rid of that annoying All Might. Do not be so hasty, young Shigaraki. A much more deeper voice spoke out from an intercom within the bar. The bar went silent. Classroom 1. Today's training will be a little different. Aizawa began to speak. It's just after lunch, currently 12:50 in the afternoon. You'll have 3 instructors. Me, All Might, and another faculty member will be keeping tabs on you. 3 heroes? That's a little extreme, isn't it? Well, maybe because of the break-in. All Might though, huh? Yesterday evening. Outside gym. Takuru stood outside the gym doors. This is where I was supposed to go. Takuru made his way inside. Remember, this isn't mandatory. You can spend more time Takuru heard, before smoke appeared. It seems our guest has arrived. All Might said proudly, standing in the center of the field with another person. Midoriya? What's he doing here? Miyashiro. All Might was just telling me about you coming, Midoriya said as he came up. He and All Might seemed to be talking about something. Are you here because of my extra class? Takuru asked. He had a feeling that was it. Correct. Young Midoriya here is exemplary at quirk analysis, and I thought he could prove to be crucial in helping you understand your own quirk. Well, I mean, shouldn't he focus more on training his own quirk? Takuru said, raising a point. About that. I thought that maybe while helping you out with your own quirk, I can train myself as well. Besides, your quirk is really interesting, and I want to know what it's capable of. Maybe I'll need a dedicated notebook? Midoriya said, getting a little excited. Oh, it's alright, I think I got it. So, where do we start? Takuru said, looking to All Might. The first step would be to figuring out what makes it tick. The trigger, in other words. Consistency is key. All Might states. He raises a good point. If Takuru is going to use his quirk, he'll need to fully understand how it's done. Me and Midoriya discussed that yesterday, actually. I theorized that it's based on my own desires or wishes, so when I wished for something, it happens. It happened when I needed a ranged attack against those villain robots, for example. Takuru stated. I see. So the trigger is to wish, then? From what I've seen so far, you can wish for quite a bit. Yeah. Do I have permission to try? Of course, young Miyashiro. Go all out on this gym. All Might states proudly. No need to hold back, are his words. All right then. Takuru drops his bag to the side, stands at one end of the field, and wields his Invisi-Sword, now called Wish Blade. What should I wish for? Should I do something like smoke or water? No, it's more than just that. I'll teleport. Takuru closed his eyes, and reopened them, to see nothing had changed. But Takuru says, a bit confused. Did anything happen? He asked the two. All Might and Midoriya shook their heads. Were you trying to teleport again, like in the practical exam? Midoriya asks. Takuru nods, and Midoriya goes back to thinking. Do you think there might be an additional prerequisite to triggering these wishes? All Might asks. He's probably right. There's more to it than wishing, I think. I just have to figure out what it is. What did I do during the practical exam? The quirk assessment test? The combat training? I absolutely wished for whatever happened during those cases to happen, but it's not working now. Damn it. The three went back and forth with theories, but none of them bore any proper fruit, or didn't have the means to be proven. Midoriya suggested it could be a stress-only situation, which would require practical training to perform, and neither All Might or Midoriya were valid opponents to battle against to get into the situation. All Might suggested it might be a spur-of-the-moments thing, something Takuru has to do without thinking too hard. It was shot down, because he was able to do it when thinking about it during the quirk assessment test and combat training. Present time. Classroom 1. We'll probably try it again tonight. But for now, we'll have to focus on this current training exercise. Excuse me, what kind of training will we be doing? Senri asked, raising her hand up. Rescue. Aizawa pulls out a card that is labeled with big blue letters, Rescue. You'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, stuff like that? Disasters, huh? Sounds like we're in for a big workout, Kaminari said. Totally, Ishido said with some excitement. Real hero stuff. This is what separates the men from the boys. I'm shaking with excitement, Kirishima said, looking forward to what's coming. Finally, I'll get to show off how good I am in water, ribbit? Azui says. Everyone mutters about the exercise. Guys, I'm not finished yet. Everyone goes silent as they look to Aizawa. What you wear in this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes. Aizawa pulls out a remote and shows the same panels from before that contain their hero costumes right before combat training coming out of the wall. But keep in mind, you haven't gotten used to them yet, and they might limit your abilities. This special training is at an off-campus facility, so we'll be taking a bus to get there. That's all, start getting ready. Aizawa leaves the room as the other students get up and start getting their costumes. Rescue training. This is the biggest part about being a hero. Protecting those in need. I've been waiting for this. UA front gate. The students have gathered. All students unanimously decided to wear their uniforms. The sound of whistling broke out, coming from Ida. Gather around, Class 1A. Using your student numbers, form 2 neat lines so we can load the bus efficiently. Ida says, handing out his commands. He's really getting into his position, huh? He can tone it down a bit, maybe, but otherwise. Yeah, he'll do good. In the bus. The bus's open layout ruined my boarding strategy. Ida says, looking down. The bus was more open, with seats in the back and to the walls. Ida, Ishido, Senri, and Kaminari sat on the right side, with Takuru, Midoriya, Azui, and Kirishima sitting on the left from front to back. Everyone else was in the back of the bus. Ida, you really need to chill, Ishido says. If we're pointing out the obvious, then there's something I want to say. Azui starts to say, as a slight jab to Ida. It's about you, actually. She turns to Midoriya. What is it, Azui? Midoriya begins to say, a bit nervous. I told you to call me Tsu. Yeah, right? That power of yours. Isn't it a lot like All Might's? Tsu points out. Now that you mention it. What really? Why you think so, huh? I never really thought about that. I guess it's kind of similar. Midoriya begins to speak to himself. Kirishima goes to speak to Tsu about it, and Takuru thinks to himself. I mean, they both use extreme super strength. The big difference is that All Might doesn't hurt himself whenever he uses his power. Midoriya breathed a sigh of relief. Kirishima must have pointed out the same points as Takuru thought. Still, I bet it's cool to have a simple augmenting type of quirk. My quirk is super strong, and can datery bad guys in a fight, but it doesn't look all that impressive, Kirishima says, before hardening his arm. Ijiro Kirishima, quirk. Hardening, he can harden any part of his body to be super strong. He's super hard to break in that state. Oh no way. I think it's really awesome looking. You're definitely pro material with a quirk like that, Midoriya said, complimenting Kirishima's quirk. You really think so? Seems like it'd be easier to be a popular hero if I had something flashier. It's more noticeable than my quirk, at least. Since shape-shifting is better when I'm not noticed, Senri said. Hey, don't worry, Senri. I'm sure you'll be able to get into the spotlight one way or another, Ishido said, putting her hand on Senri's shoulder. It gave her a small smile. Well, if any of our classmates have pro quirks, it's Todoroki and Bakugo, Kirishima said, looking to the back of the bus. Seats were lined there. Sure, but Bakugo is always angry, so he'll never be that popular. Tsu says very nonchalantly, getting a bit of surprise out of Midoriya and causing a reaction from Bakugo. What did you say? I'll kick your butt, Bakugo yelled out, leaning over the railing towards Tsu. She doesn't even look Bakugo's way or react. You see? Tsu says, pointing to Bakugo. You know, we basically just met you, so it's kind of telling we all know your personality is flaming CRP mixed with garbage. Kaminari adds on, getting even more of a reaction out of Bakugo. You're gonna regret the day you applied to this school, you loser. I'll kill you. Bakugo turns to Kaminari. While all this is going on, Midoriya is sweating with his hands on his head. Enough. As classmates we should encourage each other, Ida says, trying to defuse the situation. Bakugo was not having it, saying something about exploding. Bakugo has a seriously short fuse. For someone who got the most villain points, his lack of longing to help people is really showing with the grand total of 0 rescue points he got. Hey, we're here. Stop messing around. Aizawa gets up and says to the class, getting a few yes, sirs. Midoriya also stops panicking. As Aizawa said, the bus was approaching the large dome where Class 1A would begin rescue training. These eight outside. Hello, everyone. I've been waiting for you. The person in the spacesuit-like costume said. They got a few guos out of everyone, but most noticeably from Uraraka and Midoriya. It's the space hero, 13. The chivalrous pro who's rescued a ton of people from disasters across the world. Midoriya said, entering fanboy mode. Yui loves them, doesn't she? She looks up to them a lot. Ooh, 13 is one of my favorite heroes. Even Uraraka was fangirling over 13. 13 has a lot of fans, don't they? Then it makes sense why they're here, as one of rescue training instructors. I can't wait to show you what's inside, 13 said, gesturing for the class to follow them inside. This is gonna be awesome. The entrance. To say that walking in felt like an experience would be an understatement. The USJ was huge. There's 6 different disaster zones as far as the class could see at first, and to get down they would have to traverse a very long staircase. It was an incredible sight to take in, especially with the knowledge it's all artificial. Holy CRP. It looks like some kind of amusement park. One of the students say. A shipwreck, 13 begins saying, pointing to the water zone. A landslide, pointing to a zone where buildings were covered in dirt. A fire, pointing to the red dome. A windstorm, pointing to the blue dome, etc. I created this training facility to prepare you to deal with differing types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. But you can call it USJ, just like Universal Studios Japan. Takuru thinks to himself, but most other students also noticed the similarities. Aizawa moves a bit forward towards 13. Hey, shouldn't All Might be here already? Aizawa asks. Let me guess. He booked an interview instead. Actually, it's something else. 13 says. That got Aizawa's attention. Apparently, he did too much hero work on the way to school this morning and used up all his power. He's resting in the teacher's lounge. 13 explains. That man is the height of irresponsibility. Aizawa says. Clock's ticking. We should get started. Excellent. Before we begin, let me just say one thing, well, make it 2 things. Possibly 3, 4 or 5. 13 says, ramming the point in too hard to Class 1A. We get it. Listen carefully. I'm sure you're aware that I have a powerful quirk. It's called Black Hole. I can use it to SCK up anything and turn it into dust. 13 explains their quirk. Yeah, you've used Black Hole to save all kinds of people from disasters before, haven't you? Midoriya says, and during that, Uraraka was nodding very rapidly. She's not subtle about being a fangirl, though maybe she likes it that way. That's true. But my quirk could also very easily be used to kill. 13 says, getting Uraraka to stop and causing some students to listen carefully with shock on their faces. Some of you also have powers that can be dangerous. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and stringently regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe they can actually be. Please don't forget that if you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly. Even if you're trying to do something virtuous, like rescue someone. Could mind wishes really be used that way? No, I don't want to think about that. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential? Not yet, for me anyways. And because of All Might's combat training, you likely experienced how dangerous your quirks can be when used against other people. Carry those lessons over to this class. Today, you're going to learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. You won't be using your powers to attack enemies or each other, only to help. After all, that's what being a hero is all about. Ensuring the safety of others. 13 finishes their message and the idea of the exercise. No wonder 13 is referred to as one of the top rescue heroes. They're so chivalrous and so understanding of how quirks can be dangerous. They're amazing. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. 13 bowed, resulting in a fair bit of clapping from the rest of Class 1A and cheers. Even Takuru joined in. Now that's over, Aizawa points over to the center of the field, but before he continues, the lights of the dome dim. A few students got a little shock. Takuru turns to the center of the field, noticing the fountain acting strangely. What the hell? A purple black hole appeared in front of the fountain. Aizawa grunted and turned with wide eyes. Once he did so, the hole grew so wide that it became more reminiscent of a monster. With yellow eyes. For a moment, Takuru could have sworn he saw someone inside. Stay together and don't move. Aizawa handed out commands to Class 1A, 13, protect the students. Takuru's thoughts were confirmed, as multiple people came out of what seemed to be a portal doubling as an entity. Wait, has the training started already? Kirishima asks as he looks to the group emerging. I thought we were rescuing people. Midoriya tries to get closer, before being cut off. Stay back. Aizawa shouts, as he puts his goggles on. This is real. Those are villains. To say everyone was shocked was an understatement. Under attack? What the hell? We thought we were going to be saving people, but now we're the ones in danger. A voice rang out throughout the dome, no, what would soon to become a coliseum of survival. The only real heroes I see are 13 and Eraserhead. Perplexing. According to the schedule we retrieved from UA, All Might should be here as well. So, you scumbags used the press as a cover and sneaked onto campus? Aizawa said. The large group of villains began to advance. The purple-black foggy beast remained in the back, along with a blue-haired man covered in hands and a large bird beast that had its brains sticking out. Aizawa's scarf started floating around him. So, these are what the pro heroes are up against. And now I know why Nono was worried all the time. Episode 4. Run in with the darkness. What? Real villains? No way. How could so many of them get into UA facility this secure? Kirishima says. 13, why aren't the alarms going off? Yaoyorozu asks. Good question. I'm not sure. They say, not exactly inspiring confidence in everyone. Is the entire campus under attack? Or is this their only target? Todoroki says. Either way, if the alarm sensors aren't being triggered, then one of these villains must have a quirk that's masking their presence here. They carefully chose this isolated facility as an entry point at a time when class was being taught. They're fools for trespassing here. But they thought this out. Whatever this plan is, they must have a concrete objective in mind. But what is it? No one was sure. But Takuru was already getting ideas. A pro hero maybe? But that'd be too risky. Especially if All Might were here. Hang on. 13, get them out of here, and alert the main campus? Aizawa steps forward, handing out new orders. Actually, if they've got the ability to block our sensors, they might be jamming our regular communications too. Kaminari, try using your quirk to contact the school. Yes, sir. Kaminari got right on it. What are you going to do? You can't fight them on your own. There's too many of them. Midoriya shows his worry and concern. Even if you can nullify their quirks, your fighting style is not suited for this. Your power works best in stealth and one-on-one fights. That's not gonna help with a group. You can't be a pro if you only have one trick. Aizawa says confidently. I'll leave it to you, 13. 13 nods. Aizawa leaps and makes his way down the stairs to engage in combat. Takuru moved to look over the ledge and see Aizawa falling down to the villain group, and once landing he runs towards them. They seem to be getting ready to attack. One of the villains attempt to fire with their fingers, but they jammed up, signifying that it was a quirk of theirs being cancelled by Eraserhead. In fact, all three villains taking point had their quirks cancelled, leaving them to get wrapped by Eraserhead's scarf and slammed right into each other, KOing them. Eraserhead rings his scarf back in, and is the center of the villains. One of the villain whose quirks seemed to be more focused on passive augmentation charged right at Eraserhead, who swiftly dodged their attacks and retaliated with a punch right in the face. The power behind it was strong, causing the villain to go flying. Eraserhead's scarf goes flying towards the villain, wrapping them. Another villain tries to get the jump on him, but Eraserhead ducks under just in time and drags the villain he just wrapped his scarf around to slam him on the villain that tried to attack him. It ended up being 4 at once, since that same villain fell back onto 2 others. He's amazing. He's really good at close combat. Those are some cool tricks and that physical strength. Takura began to get moving with the rest of Class 1A, but noticed Midoriya falling behind. Hey Midoriya, save the analyzing for later, we have to go. Takuru calls out as they catch up with the rest of the class. However, they are quickly interrupted by the same fog monster who appears in front of them. There is no escape for you. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. That thing introduced its group name. League of Villains? This is the first I've heard of it. I know it's impolite, but we decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello. And besides, isn't this a fitting place for All Might, the symbol of peace, to take his last breath? Holy shit, I was right. They are after All Might. For what? He's too strong for any villain to take on. Right? I believe he was supposed to be here today, and yet I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change of plans we couldn't foresee. Ah, well, I suppose in the end it doesn't matter. It's extending itself. I still have a role to play. 13 prepares to use their quirk, however, Kirishima and Bakugo take point first and attack the villain. Did you think we were just gonna stand around and let you tear this place to shreds? Kirishima says. The smoke clears. You live up to your school's reputation. But you should be more careful, children. Otherwise, someone might get hurt. It was completely unharmed. You do. Get out of the way right now. 13 orders Bakugo and Kirishima to get out of the way. However, I'll scatter you across this facility to meet my comrades and your deaths. The fog monster covers everyone. See you, what is this? Kirishima panics as he covers himself with his arms. But Takuru couldn't think. Damn it. Takuru turns. He tries to prevent himself from being overwhelmed, but it's pure darkness. He can't see anyone. Senrai! Senrai! Takuru screamed, but before he could do anything else, the ground beneath his feet gave way, and he was falling. No! No! Takuru panics as he feels himself falling, but once the darkness clears, he sees the ground. He fails to process this in time, however, as he lands and tumbles down the dirt. Once he gets up, his clothes are all dirty, and finds himself on a building covered in dirt. The landslide zone? Takura looks around, and he sees the fog monster in the distance at the entrance, and Aizawa fighting off the villains at the plaza. Damn it, I have to get back. Senri's in danger. The second Takuru took a step to the side to try and get off the building, multiple villains show up from different angles. Hey guys. Found one. One of them called out. Damn it. It's an ambush. Then, this kid's really part of the hero course? He looks so weak. One of the other villains said. Hey, don't forget what those guys said. Don't underestimate them, they're being taught by All Might. They might have a dirty trick or two. I'm completely surrounded. They're keeping their distance right now, but they might jump at me at any moment. Think, how do I get out of here? Use my wish blade? But I don't know if it'll even work with me here. Forget this. A villain from behind Takuru starts charging right at him. CRP. On instinct, Takura activates his wish blade's visible state and uses it to cut away the villain. They're knocked back in turn, but it didn't hurt them that much. Ding, what kind of sword is that? Looks pretty DMN fancy. Yeah, but with a weak quirk like that topped with his lack of strength, he's done. Get him. I revealed my hand too quickly. Damn it. I'm out of time. Episode 5.1. Atrocious Raid. At that moment, water started blasting at the villains from the side. What the? Takuru, jump. A male voice yelled out. Takuro felt he recognized it, but he couldn't bother to think about that due to the shock. Still, it was his only hope. With as much force as possible, he leaped as high as he could, where the ground below him froze over right after. What the? Takuru landed, but ended up slipping. He fell on his rear, with a groan. What just happened? Takuru looked around, and saw all the other villains that were around him were stuck in ice. Only one person could have done that. So the plan was to scatter us and pick us off one by one, huh? The voice of Todoroki came over. Todoroki. Shinji? They walked towards Takuru. Todoroki wasn't bothered while walking on the ice, but Shinji was struggling to maintain his footing. They were seriously not prepared for us though. In fact, seems all the strategy or ideas they had was just gather around and charge. Shinji added. The two liked to mock the villains. Miyashiro, are you alright? Todoroki asks Takuru as he reaches him, reaching his hand out for his. Why, thanks. Takuru takes his hand, taking note of how cold it was. That must be the drawback to his power. This kid is a monster. One of the villains say, shivering in none but their voice. He froze us the moment he came. So cold. Come on, we should go. Shinji says as he and Takuru prepare to go down the slope. Takuru tries to say, but Hiya. A battle cry rings out behind Todoroki, a villain aiming to stab him from behind with a spear, but Todoroki grabs the villain's spear and instantly freezes him over. That reaction time. Incredible. No, it's not that. These villains. They're predictable. Just basic thugs. None of them were using their quirks. If they're here to kill All Might, wouldn't they have gathered elites? At least, there are about 3 truly dangerous villains. Like that fog monster, the one covered in hands, and that bird with its brains sticking out. Before we go, Miyashiro and Todoroki seem to be on same page as he starts talking to the villains. Listen well. If you stay frozen, your cells will slowly die as your body succumbs to frostbite and hypothermia. Furthermore, you were all wet prior to being frozen, which will accelerate the rate at which you pass out due to sheer cold. Luckily for you, I want to be a hero. So I'd like to avoid any unnecessary cruelty. He walks up to one of the frozen villains. It's clear to all of them that their lives are at risk. But I can only do that if you tell me how you plan to kill All Might. That's the only way you'll survive. Jesus. He's scary. The villains were shaking, and after about a record-breaking 3 seconds, one snapped. We don't know. All we were told is that the sea creepy guy in hands might found a way to kill All Might. They blurted out. The guy covered in hands? They must be their leader. Makes sense. Shinji said with his conclusion. Possibly. Given their numbers, it's likely they had a recruiter. Takuru added on. I see. The ice will melt soon. By then, you'll be too weak to do anything, but you'll survive. Rest well. Todoroki says, getting back to the duo. We don't have time. We have to get back to Mr. Aizawa, he's in danger. Both Takuru and Shinji nodded in agreement, and they made their descent down the landslide zone, leaving behind the frozen villains. Mr. Aizawa. Senri. Hang on. Main? Windstorm zone. Found any of them? A villain asks another. They seem to be searching the area. Oh. They're a Heidi bunch, the lot of them. The other replies. A cry yelled out in the area. There's one. The first one says, getting ready to run over. You go deal with them, I'll scout around. The other says instead, getting ready to move elsewhere. Smart. See you later. The first villain runs off. There ought to be at least one more. I'll get recognized pretty good if I get one. Looking for me? A girl's voice said from behind. What the villain tried to say, but was subsequently knocked out by the girl using a metal pipe. She drags him to a dumpster and hides him among the trash. The girl, Senri Minamisua, then transforms. I need to go help whoever is out there. I don't recognize the voice. Koda, maybe? Senri runs off in the direction of the cry. She didn't have to run far though, seeing about 4 or 5 villains getting ready to rush the boy, Koda. We got him right where we want him. One of the villains say. Senri gets closer, metal pipe in hand. However, she stops when she notices something above. A figure. I can think of a better place to get him. Senri says with the voice of the villain she transformed into. Really? One says. About 3 of time turned to face her, which was enough for the figure to come down. It was Tokoyami. He subsequently takes out 2 of them. What the dash? One villain tries to react, but as he turns to face Tokoyami's dark shadow, Senri attacks the villains herself, knocking out 1 and then 2. Tokoyami drops down. You fooled me for a moment there, Minamisuwa. Tokoyami says. Fumikage Tokoyami, quirk, dark shadow, he can manifest an alter ego of himself to fight for him, dark shadow. He can also reveal Tokoyami's feelings against his consent. That's a sign that my quirk can be good for undercover. Senri says as she turns back to normal. Still, it feels weird turning into these guys. They're just buff guys without any actual training, they were distracted so easily. The easier it is for us to get out of our situation, the better. Koda, are you alright? Tokoyami turns to Koda, who was still scared. He nods quickly, he doesn't talk much. Alright, we need to get out of here. We didn't get any layout of the place before we entered though, and due to the windstorm, it'll be difficult to scout ahead. However, the noise the windstorm causes can also be used to our advantage for stealth. Senri says, explaining the terrain and circumstances. She has a plan. Avoiding conflict in general will help, but it works best here. However, we can't take the rooftops. We risk getting blown over by the wind. Fumikage adds. We'll go from alley to alley. That's the best way to get past. She goes over to one of the KO'd villains. I'll take point, disguised. They're not trained, so I should be able to fool them easily. Just follow my lead. Senri explains, using her quirk. Understood. Koda, stick with me and watch our backs. You can tap my shoulder if you see anything. Tokoyami says to the Koda, who only nods. He's just going along with the plan. Taku, you better stay safe out there. Just hold on, we're coming. Main, Shota. The battle was still going in Eraserhead's favor. Over half the villains were on the ground, and Eraserhead was able to maintain speed and his acrobatic skills throughout the battle. Leaping over the villains and using clever tricks with his scarf to use the villains as their own worst enemy. However, the battle was starting to drag on, and Eraserhead was beginning to be tired out. Just as he slammed another villain into the ground, the man in hands began running towards him. Damn it, I can't keep this up much longer. First, it was 23 seconds. The boy in hands began running straight at Eraserhead. Final boss. Eraserhead said, turning his attention to that boy and sending his scarf towards the boy. Then it was 24 seconds. And then 17. The boy kept going on, before being elbowed in the stomach after being dragged over by Eraserhead's scarf. However, the boy's actual hand grabs Eraserhead's elbow as his hair drops. It was hard to see when you were jumping around. But I found your tell. It's your hair. The boy's eyes went wide. When it drops, it means you've stopped using your quirk. Eraserhead's sleeve right where the boy is grabbing it begins to turn gray. With the Eraserhead grits his teeth. Sheet, that hurts. What the hell is? You're having to blink more often. Don't push yourself too hard now. You might just fall apart. The sleeve is gone, and Eraserhead's elbow skin falls apart. Wouldn't that be a shame? In an instant, Eraserhead's hair went up once again as he punches the boy away with his left fist and leaps away. His right elbow is gone, but he still has another arm. He destroyed my elbow. Disintegration? A villain jumped at Eraserhead to seize the chance, but they were still far below him in skill as Eraserhead swiftly ducks and knocks the villain away with his left fist. The other villains don't let up as they get him surrounded. Eraserhead is losing breath as he evades the incoming attacks. That annoying quirk of yours isn't suited for drawn-out fights against big groups, is it? Don't you think you're a little out of your element here, Eraserhead? The boy in hands gets up and starts monologuing. You're much better at working stealthily. You're known for surprise attacks, not fighting head-to-head. Damn it. I just hope the students got away. But despite knowing that, you didn't hesitate to jump into the middle of this fight. To put your students at ease, Eraserhead's hair falls, letting another villain get the jump at him with their steel hands quirk. He evades multiple attacks from multiple villains, uses his scarf to knock away 2, and shoulders the third one away. His hair goes back up, as it seems all the low-level grunts are done. And look at you, you're still standing. You really are so cool. The boy continues. Oh, by the way, hero, he says as Eraserhead feels a presence behind him. He turns, seeing the giant bird brain from before. I am not the final boss. Main, Takurim. Landslide zone. We're almost at the exit to this section, Todoroki says as the trio runs towards the exit of the landslide zone. Shinji on your left. Todoroki, freeze wall, right? Takuru says as they both turn to their respective directions. Todoroki forms an ice wall to his side, and Shinji begins firing off water at charging villains. Objects begin hitting the ice wall, seems to be a projectile quirk of some kind. Saw them in time. Nice going, Takuru. We're almost at the end, Shinji says as he continues running straight ahead. Todoroki builds up the ice wall a bit more, then runs just behind Takuru, who was clearly starting to be tired out from all this running. They just don't give up, do they? 4 low-level grunts. They're persistent. Todoroki says. Huh. Give them a hand, and they'll help you retrieve a whole arm. Huh. Taking out All Might will do wonders for villain society, so it's not unnatural they don't want to give up. Takuru adds in between breaths. You love analogy, don't you? But you're right, villains will do anything for just a sliver of fame. That's what makes them so annoying to deal with. Shinji replies, adding on. There's the gate. Miyashiro, cut open the lock. Todoroki says, pointing to the padlock. Got it? Takuru takes out his wish blade and cuts at the lock, causing it fall with a pathetic cling. Shinji and Todoroki open the gate at the same time, letting them outside of the zone. Todoroki erects an ice wall right behind them on the gate, just in case. We're here. Holy shit, is that Mr. Aizawa? It says, looking towards the plaza. He was down on the ground, and just a bit further in the distance, the bird brain and the boy in hands. With Midoriya and Tsu. No. Takuru cries out, despite knowing it'd do nothing. We have to dash, Todoroki says, before something loud occurs at the top of the stairs. Dust covers the entrance of the USJ. Eventually, a large stomp could be heard. Have no fear, students. Because I am here. A commanding, familiar, and reassuring voice rung out through the dome. It's All Might. They got to him, Shinji says with a hint of relief in his voice. So not all of us were transported. We're saved. Takuru adds on with his quick realization and a smile. And yet, he's not smiling. No, it's hard to remember sometimes, but All Might. He's human, like the rest of us. Of course he's angry. Not just with the villains. But probably himself. Main, Toshinori why? I couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone wrong when Aizawa and 13 didn't answer my calls. All Might began to walk forward. So I hurried over, running into young Ida along the way. He told me of the villainy at work here. I can't believe all of this went down while I was resting. I hate to think of how frightened these children must be, and how hard my colleagues had to fight in order to protect them. The only I can do now is reassure them that things will be okay. That's my duty as the symbol of peace. He put his foot down. Have no fear, students. Because I am here. All Might ripped off his tie. The students behind him had joy and reassurance as they tried to ensure that 13 would remain safe. Prior, 13 fell into a trap that led to them using black hole on themselves thanks to that fog monster. It's time to protect them. Episode 5.2, All Might. All Might subsequently tore off his jacket, the face of anger remaining. The thugs who came began to gawk and talk. However, they are underestimating the symbol of peace as in a flash, they are all struck. As they're all knocked away, All Might finds himself at Aizawa's side before the villains even hit the ground. All Might picks up Aizawa and examines his injuries, a broken elbow and overall beaten over in general. I'm sorry, Aizawa. I should have been here. All Might faces the villains tormenting young Midoriya and young Azui. In an instant, he moves himself at insane speeds and picks up the two before they were reached by the other villains in the water. They did not have any means to deal with them, leading to it being a very close call while being surrounded. At the same time, one of the hands on the boy with hands all over fell off. All Might lands a fair distance away from the bird brain and the boy with hands, and lays Aizawa down on the ground. Both of you, back to the entrance. And take Aizawa with you. He doesn't have much time. All Might stands. Ribbit? Young Azui replies, moving to help Aizawa up. You saved us, All Might? Midoriya says, looking up to All Might. No, 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 no. It wasn't supposed to go this way. The boy in hands says to himself, as he picks up the hand that fell off of him. He's still fast, father. Somehow, he managed to hit me. He puts the hand back on his face. Of course, government hero relies on violence. I was prepared. I couldn't even see him when he moved. But he's not as fast as I thought he would be. Not as fast as he used to be. I guess it's true after all. The boy wears a creepy gin underneath that hand. All Might really is getting weaker. Young Midoriya helps up Aizawa with young Azui. He begins to speak. All Might, you can't. That brain villain took one F. I smashed him and didn't break my arm this time. But he wasn't fazed at all. He's too strong. All Might waved his hand to block him from getting closer. Young Midoriya. All Might turned to face him with a peace sign on his face. I got this. Young Midoriya wasn't satisfied, but he left with young Azui and Aizawa. All Might turned to face the villains, and lunged towards them. Carolina. No. The boy says before the brain villain moves to stop the attack. Smash. The attack connects, and while the force does apply around the two, it didn't faze the villain at all. Nomu. It attempts to grab All Might, but he ducks just in time. Guess he wasn't wrong when he said it had no effect on you. All Might says before he landed a punch to the stomach. Once again, no effect. It keeps trying to grab All Might. Let's try this. All Might shouts, landing a punch to the left of the Nomu's head. And then to the right, both with tons of force packed into them. But no effect. It forcing All Might to jump back. Doesn't even matter where I punch you, does it? All Might regains his footing. He avoids the Nomu's next grab, and launches an assault to the chest area. That's because Nomu here has shock absorption, All Might. The boy in hands begins explaining. The only way you're going to hurt him is to slowly gouge out his flesh. Of course, I don't think he'll sit back and let you do that. You finally met your match. Thanks for telling me how to beat him. All Might responds, and grabs the Nomu from behind. All I have to do is wear him down. And then it's on to you. He suplexes the Nomu and forces him to be slammed down right on its head. The force behind it was devastating, causing a large pillar of smoke and dust to erupt. Hey now. The boy in hand says. Jeech. All Might's mouth begins leaking blood. After the landing of the Nomu, it was placed into a portal of sorts. And now the Nomu has All Might grabbed from behind. Oh, come on. What kind of cheap trick was that? All Might begins feeling something digging into his side. You were trying to bury him in the concrete so he couldn't move around. Sorry, but that won't work. Nomu's as strong as you are, that won't stop him. All Might grunts, realizing his number was had. Nice work, Kurogiri. We've got him just where we want him now. Kurogiri Quirk, Warp Gate. He can manifest 2 warp gates using his body to transport things from one gate to the other. CRP. This monster found my weak spot. Nomu continues to dig into All Might's side where his respiratory system was scarred. Dimen. Gotta stop him. Despite his power. If this is your best, then you've picked the wrong place to attack. You should just give up now. All Might aims for a bluffing maneuver to buy time. The boy with hands scratches his neck. Kurogiri. Normally, I wouldn't want blood and viscera flooding the insides of my warp gates. But I'll make an exception for a hero as great as you. All Might finds himself being dragged close to the warp gate Nomu came out of to grab him. Since you're too fast to see for the human eye, Nomu had to restrain you. And once he's pulled your body halfway through, I'll squeeze the gate shut. I'm going to enjoy tearing you to pieces. It was a bad situation. All Might couldn't break free. He was on the verge of death now. He tries to break the grip he was being held in, but, I'm coming. The voice of young Midoriya rang out, as he ran over to All Might. Midoriya, no. What do you think you're doing? He jumped and lunged to All Might, only to be met with Kurogira's main body. How foolish! He opens a warp gate, and Midoriya couldn't stop himself from reaching towards it. But the second before he enters, an explosion overcame the main body. Get the hell out of my way, Rag! The voice of young Bakugo rung out, knocking Kurogiri away and holding it down. In an instant, the body of the Nomu also froze over. He's frozen? That means Todoroki must be here. All Might turns to see where the ice came from, but to his confusion as well as the other students. What? A few moments ago. Main, Takurim. Incredible. All Might something else. Shinji says, seeing All Might knock out all those villains in one fell swoop. Todoroki, Shinji, head to the other rescue zones. Our classmates might be in danger. Takuru says. Got it. As long as All Might's here, he can handle those villains. Todoroki agrees to Takuru's request. What will you do? I'll go help out Aizawa and check on the situation. There's not much I can do. Takuru responds. So I'll at least let them know we're safe. Good thinking. Leave rescuing our classmates to us. Come on, Todoroki. Shinji says, gesturing for Todoroki to follow him. Todoroki follows Shinji, and Takuru runs to the plaza. By this point in time, All Might had rescued Midoriya and Tsu, placing them at the path to the stairs. They were carrying Aizawa. Midoriya! Tsu! Takuru yells out. And Miyashiro? Midoriya reacts, seeing Takuru come over. You're okay? Told you the others would be fine on their own, Ribbit? Tsu says. Actually, I had help from Todoroki and Itu. They both got transported to the landslide zone with me. Takuru is taking deep breaths in between words as he explains. Really? Where are they now? Midoriya asks. They're going to search and help our classmates in the other zones. One of the villains that attacked us told us that the guy with hands all over him knew a way to defeat All Might, yet the rest of them were on a need-to-know basis. Takuru explains. You're kidding? Could it be related to what caused Mr. Aizawa's injury? Tsu asks, pointing towards Aizawa's disintegrated right elbow. We don't know that. All we know is that it's something that creepy hand guy knows. Takuru adds on. Midoriya seemed to be lost in thought. A pillar of smoke came from where All Might was battling. Wow, he's really strong, Ribbit. Tsu says. She was right on that front. Yadash. Wait, look. Takuru was about to say, before they noticed that the fog monster from before had showed up and created warp gates for the brain villain to avoid damage from the impact, and got All Might in a hold. What the? Midoriya begins to say, horrified. Miyashiro, Azui? He says. Yeah. Takuru responds. Take Mr. Aizawa. Midoriya says. Takuru knew instantly what he was going to do. Tsu does so first. What are you going to do? Tsu asks. Her words didn't get through, as Midoriya begins to walk forward. And go into a sprint. Damn it. I'll get Midoriya back. Miyashiro says before following after him. He wasn't nearly as fast due to how tired he was. Ribbit, fine. Tsu says, taking Aizawa further away from the action. Takura didn't register this as he fell behind Midoriya. Damn it. Faster. Takuru tries to pick up the pace. It doesn't help him, but he needs to move. Midoriya lunges to All Might as he cries out. I'm coming. Midoriya cries out from the depths of his soul, but he was stopped by the warp villain. How foolish. It says, opening a warp gate with its body. Just before Midoriya reaches through, however. Get the hell out of my way, Rag. The voice of young Bakugo rung out, knocking the warp monster away with explosions and then holding it down. Bakugo! It's good to see he's here. No, I can't just sit back. If the brain monster keeps this up, All Might will be. I have to stop him from dragging him in. But how? Freeze. That's it. Takuru brought his wish blade forth and stuck it in the ground. Please. Freeze. He stared at the brain villain trying to drag All Might in, only imagining the best scenario. Freezing the villain right up to the arm that's grabbing All Might. Takuru blinked. And as he opens his eyes, the brain monster was frozen over. Right up to its arm. just as Takuru had imagined. What? Miyashiro too? Bakugo looked over. W2? Midoriya says, shocked. Working, Takuru says with joy. The brain villain. It was frozen over. Come on, All Might. Don't let him beat you. Takuru cries out with encouragement. All Might grabs the brain monster's arms and loosens the grip just enough to let All Might break free thanks to it freezing over. He flips over to join Miyashiro and Midoriya and grabs his side. He was hurt. Midoriya gasped. Are you okay? But that wasn't all to the backup All Might was getting. A battle cry rang out from above. Ha! Kirishima yelled as he tried to kick the boy in hands, but quickly jumps back when the boy evaded. Ding, that was gonna be cool. Disappointed he missed. Guess I found your body that time, you smoky beastie. Bakugo says, taunting the warp villain. We're students of UA, and All Might is the symbol of peace. Sorry, but you villains had no chance of beating him, Takuru says, wielding his blade towards the villains. He could feel All Might staring at him for just a moment, before turning to the villains. Kaken. Everyone, Midoriya says, wiping his tears away. All eyes were on the boy in hands. Kurogyri. How could you let this brat get the best of you? The boy in hands says. The warp villain was named Kurogyri. You've gotten us into a real jam here. Heh. You got careless, you dumb villain. Bakugo begins taunting and telling Kurogyri how he figured him out. It wasn't hard to figure you out. Only certain parts of you turn into that smoking warp gate. You used that mist to hide your actual body, as a kind of distraction. Thinking that made you safe. That's why we missed. That explains why it went that way when we first encountered it. But if you didn't have a body, you wouldn't be wearing this neck armor, right? Bakugo continues. You're not immune to physical attacks if they're well aimed. Kurogyri tries to move, but Bakugo releases tiny explosions on the neck armor, getting a groan out of Kurogyri. Don't move. Heh, you try anything funny and I'll blow your butt up so bad that they'll be piecing you back together for weeks. Bakugo maintains his hold. Oh, that doesn't sound very heroic, Kirishima says. Damn, good thing he's on our side. Takuru thinks he has a slight bit of respect for Bakugo. At least in the combat department. Bakugo wasn't just all power and skill, he was smart. That explains how he got the highest score in the practical exam despite not having any rescue points. They escaped uninjured and captured my two strongest men. Kids these days really are amazing. They make the League of Villains look like amateurs. Can't have that. The boy in hands says to himself. No. It gets up on its feet and begins pulling itself back through the warp gate. Despite being half frozen. What the? Takuru gasped, not believing what he was seeing. The half of his body being frozen fell off. How is that thing still moving? He's all messed up. Midoriya says. Stay back, everybody. All Might says, making sure the students remain back. At that moment, the rest of the ice on Nomu shatters, and it begins regenerating. What is this? I thought you said its power was shock absorption. All Might stands, seemingly shocked. I didn't say that was his only quirk. It also has super regeneration. Nomu has been modified to take you on even at 100% of your power. He's basically a highly efficient punching bag that hits back. The boy in hands explains, as the Nomu is ready to fight yet again. Everyone prepares for another fight. First, we need to free our method of escape. Get him, Nomu. The boy commands, leaving Bakugo and Kirishima to prepare, but in an instant, pure power erupted in a singular location. The four students, Midoriya, Takuru, Bakugo, and Kirishima were knocked a distance away. They couldn't see All Might, but as the smoke cleared, All Might had took a hit. Such force. Midoriya says. Kaken. Midoriya stands, realizing what just happened, but Kaken? He turns to his right to see Bakugo sitting there. He was just as shocked. Wow, you dodged it. That's so awesome. Shut up. No, I didn't, you demon nerd. He says. Then how'd you get over here? Kirishima asked. They only just now realized what Takuru was seeing behind the smoke. Isn't it obvious? Bakugo says. All Might was standing there, an arm raised. He coughed. All Might, Midoriya says with realization. So he protected the child? The boy with hands says. All Might had took a massive hit. These are kids, and you didn't hold back? All Might says with contempt. I didn't have much choice. He was threatening my companion. The boy in hands says. Besides, these kids are no angels. The plain-looking one? He tried to kill me with a maxed-out punch. What kind of hero does something like that? You think you can get away with being as violent as you want if you say it's for the sake of others? He continues to monologue. Well, you know what, All Might? That pisses me off. Why do people get to decide that some violent acts are heroic and others are villainous? Casting judgment between what's good and what's evil. You think you're the symbol of peace? You're just another government-sponsored instrument of violence. And violence always breeds more violence. I'll make sure the world understands that, once you're dead, you're nothing but a lunatic. Criminals like you always try to make your actions sound noble. But admit it, you're only doing this because you like it. Isn't that right? All Might says defiantly. The boy's eyes narrows. He's got me figured out. The boy says. Takura's eyes narrow as well. We have the numbers advantage. Takuru says. MHM. And Kaken found the mist guy's weakness. Izuku adds with a nod. These guys might act really tough, but we can take M down now with All Might's help. Heh. Kirishima says, hardening his arms. Let's do this dash. Don't attack. All Might said, walking in between the students and the villains. He raises his arm to prevent them from moving forward. Get out of here. All Might, we were only able to help you barely. If we were a second later. Well, adding on to that, you're hurt. Takuru states. His sword is ready for another go, but Takuru couldn't get a slight headache out of the back his head out. It wasn't too bad though. I thank you for your assistance, but this is different. It's gonna be alright, just sit back and watch a pro at work. All Might says with confidence. All Might, listen to Miyashiro. And plus, you're almost out of time dash. Midoriya says before cutting himself off. Almost out of time. All Might gives a thumbs up in return to that, however. No. Kurogyri. Kill him. I'll deal with the children. The boy in hand said. The CLMX is at hand. All Might seemed to be taking deep breaths and preparing himself. Let's clear this level and go home. The boy in hand said, charging forward to the kids. Heads up, we're fighting after all. Kirishima said. The 4 students found themselves in battle stance. But before anyone could react, All Might lunged forward at the same time the Nomu charged. Reoweg. With an extreme battle roar, the beast and the symbol of peace clashed fists. A large wind explosion erupted around the area, knocking everyone, including the boy in hands back. Weren't you listening? One of its powers is shock absorption. The boy in hands says after regaining his footing. Yeah? What about it? Ardith. All Might shouts defiantly, before moving to launch more punches at Nomu, who blocks those attacks with its own fists in turn. And then, the rising action began, as they both launched extreme-powered punches at each other at extreme speeds. The shout of All Might's battle cry reaches to even the entrance. This is insane. Takuru digs deep with his wish blade into the ground, but the wind is too powerful. He's going to fight that brain thing head-on? Midoriya says. Whoa! They're so fast. Kirishima yells out to try and make his voice reach his classmates. No. I can't get near them. Kurogyri tries to get closer to the clash between the 2 superpowered people, but the release of force prevents him from doing so. He said your quirk was only shock absorption, not nullification. That means there's a limit to what you can take, right? All Might states, as he gets a few hits in that cause the Nomu to flinch. However, it retaliates with a punch to All Might's weakened spot, but even that won't stop him, as the surrounding terrain begins to come apart. So, you were made to fight me, big guy? If you can really withstand me at firing at 100% of my power, the boy in hands lets out a gasp of his own. Then I'll have to go beyond that and force you to surrender. All Might shouts out, making it very clear what his objective was. Brute force. He's giving it his all. Despite the injuries. No, he's not just giving it his all. He's targeting every single one of his hits. And all of them. They're using all of his strength. Rag. All Might lets out one last cry as one big punch knocks the Nomo far back into the trees next to the shipwreck zone. It gets up, but All Might is going after it. A real hero. Nomu leaps up towards All Might, attempting to knock him into the concrete below, who then jumps up high to retaliate with yet another punch, before being punched back yet again with a fist to his chest. Yet, All Might blocks the hit, knocking the Nomu away and leaping towards it. Will always find a way for justice to be served. With his kick to the ground, the force causes Nomu going to flying. As it falls towards All Might, who is running towards it, All Might grabs its arm, and with a hearty battle cry, launches the both of them into the air, and then throws the Nomu down into the ground. The four students had nothing but shock on their faces. As the Nomu flies back up from the impact, All Might landed down in the blink of an eye with a force of his own. Now, for a lesson, All Might begins to say, "You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean." All Might clenches his fist. Go beyond. His fist connects with Nomu's body. Plus Ultra Area. The Nomu goes flying up into the dome ceiling, crashing through the glass and far into the skies above after what looked like an explosion hit him. The dome lights explode. That was like a finishing move in a video game. He beat the shock absorption right out of him. Kirishima says, "I've never seen that kind of brute strength. Imagine having power like that." He must have been punching that monster so fast he couldn't regenerate. Bakugo adds on, "He truly is the greatest hero of all." The smoke clears around All Might a bit. "I really have gotten weaker. Back in my heyday, 5 hits would have been enough to knock that guy out. His shirt is all tattered and he's all bloody." He raises his fist to his chest. "But today, it took more than 300 mighty blows. He's amazing." All Might faced his students, with a great smile on his face. One that truly showed he was worthy of being the symbol of peace, especially after the show of power in that battle. He then turned to the villains. "You've been bested, villains?" The boy in hands was shaking. He was frustrated, furious. "Surrender. We all want to get this over with quickly." "Oh, he beat me. He's not any weaker at all," the boy in hands says, shaking and frustrated. "And look at what he did to my Nomu. He cheated." Episode 6, Who We Live For. The boy in hands scratches his neck. "Oh, come on. What's going on here? He's just as strong he's always been. Damn it. Don't tell me I was lied to." He mutters to himself. "What's wrong?" All Might continues to stand there as the smoke remains. The boy stops scratching his neck. "Not attacking me? Didn't you say you were going to clear this level earlier? Well, come and get me. If you dare." The boy in hand steps back. He seemed to be frightened by that proposal. "Man, this is intense." Bakugo says. "Yeah. But at least there's no reason for us to fight now." Takuru adds. "All Might can handle this. Come on, Midoriya. We should regroup with the others. The last thing we want to do is get taken hostage or get in their way." Ijiro says, calling for Midoriya, but he just looks at All Might. Is he alright? Didn't he say he was almost out of time earlier? What does Midoriya know? All Might takes a step forward. "What? Are you scared?" The boy once again trembles. "Heh, heh. If only Nomu was here. He'd rush you right now." The boy begins to scratch his neck with both hands. "Pound you into the ground without giving it a second thought." Tamura Shigaraki. "Please do not fret," Kurogiri says. Shigaraki was the boy's name. "Look at him. He has definitely weakened. Nomu's attacks were successful. He's on his own." The children appear to be frozen in fear. "And look, our underlings are recovering. We likely still have a few minutes before their reinforcements arrive. If you and I work together, we can do this. We haven't missed our chance to kill All Might." The boy stops scratching his neck. Yeah, you're right. This is it. We have no choice. We have to do it now. The big end boss is right here. The underling villains get behind the students. They turn to see them. "I think All Might can hold his own against those two guys." Kirishima says. Let's make sure these guys don't hurt anyone else. No, something's not right. All Might. He should have took them to the ground right now. He would have moved right on. And yet, he's trying to get them to surrender through intimidation tactics. Why change strategy now? Did Nomu weaken him that much, as Kurogyari said? Does anyone else not realize it? Midoriya. He knows more than he's letting on. So what do? Shigaraki charges towards All Might. Consider this revenge for what you do to. Kurogyari rushes as well, opening a warp gate with his body. A whoosh of air flies by. Takuru tries to say, but realizes Midoriya is gone. He launched himself. Midoriya, what are you doing? Whoa, Midoriya! Kirishima yells out. Don't you touch All Might, you stupid villains! Midoriya shouts out, before Shigaraki's hand goes through the warp gate. Aiming to grab Midoriya. Sheet, what's he planning to do? Midoriya, you idiot! No! At that moment, the sound of a gunshot rung out through the dome. Gah! Midoriya falls to the floor. They're here! All Might says, turning to the entrance. Another gunshot rings out, this time towards the mountain zone. Sorry everyone. I know we're a bit late, but I got the teachers over here as fast as I could. Nizu's voice rings out. Your class rep has returned. I fulfilled my duty, and I brought reinforcements. Ida's voice rings out as well. Both from the entrance. Here. A wash of relief and joy came over Takuru. The villains started to fire at the teachers, but Present Mike used his quirk to knock all the villains down at the plaza in one fell swoop. One of the other teachers, Ectoplasm, created copies of himself to go take on the other ones who endured the attack. Our priority is to protect all of our students, Nizu said, and the staff members obliged. Yes, sir. Amen. The pros are here. It's game over for real, Shigaraki said to himself. Let's go home and try this when we can dash. Before he finished speaking, he was shot 3 times before being covered by Kurogyari's warp gate. Did they get him? Before Takuru could continue thinking, Kurogyari's mist began being pulled away. 13 was using black hole, and an augmented version at that. I may have failed to kill you this time, but your days are numbered, Shigaraki stated. That, All Might, symbol of peace. I am going to kill you, Shigaraki said, before he and Kurogyari warped away. The aftermath. That day, Class 1A had learned what the pros were really up against. It was something that they thought they already understood, but today showed them what it truly meant. It was horrifying to be right on the front lines of a battle. Takuru took it to heart, realizing that if he wanted to truly his weapon, he needed more physical strength, endurance, and most importantly, to mstr his quirk. He came up with a new theory that day, and wanted to share it with All Might and Midoriya once they got the opportunity. But for now, Midoriya, hey! Kirishima shouted, running over to help Midoriya. Sorry, I can't get up, Midoriya says. His legs must have broke when he flashed by. What? Are you okay? Kirishima continues to run over. Hey. Kirishima, wait dash. Midoriya his hand to Kirishima to stop him. But before he stopped, a wall acted in front of Kirishima, seemingly done by another one of UA's staff, Cementos. For your safety, please stay back, young man. Please join your classmates at the front gate. Leave the injured to us, we can take care of them, Cementos stated, giving instructions to Kirishima. Cementos' quirk, Cement, he can manipulate any cement he touches, which makes him a great fighter on terrain involving cement. Oh, gotcha. I'm on it. He said for all of us to head to the entrance. Kirishima said to Takuru and Bakugo. Both of them nodded and they made their way back. Midoriya. I've got a boatload of questions to ask you, and they may or may not involve All Might. These ape outside. There were sirens sounding just about everywhere outside. There were ambulances and a large amount of law enforcement on the scene, which makes sense given the circumstances. Class 1A was lined up, taking count to make sure they were all accounted for. 16, 17, 18, everyone seems to be unharmed except for that boy whose legs were all messed up. A detective came to do count, and finished taking count of Class 1A. All of them but Midoriya were here. Ojiro. Hagakure placed her gloved hand on Mashireo. I heard you were a really good fighter. I had no idea you were so strong. She says. I didn't know I was the only one on my own. I survived using hit and run tactics until Itu arrived. So where did you end up fighting, Hagakure? Ojiro asks. The landslide zone. Todoroki is so strong, and he paired up well with Itu to help Miyashiro. She points over to Todoroki. You don't say. Well, I'm just glad all three of them weren't hurt. Ojiro says. There were 4 of us there. Now I have even less of an opinion. Taku. Senri's voice could be heard, and she ran over to Takuru. Senri. Thank goodness you're all right. Takuru smiled as he saw her come over. I was so worried when we were all covered in darkness. Yeah, you certainly yelled my name out pretty loud. Senri says. You know, everyone's gonna get the wrong idea at this rate. Dada? Takuru seemed confused. You are genuinely super dense, you know that? I mean, not as dense as Midoriya, but still dense. That's what you meant. Haha, I mean it doesn't mean anything, right? I was just worried. But in the end, I had to get saved to get anywhere. Takuru scratches the back of his neck. Yeah, Hagakure just mentioned Todoroki and Ida had to save you. And I was able to use surprise attacks through stealth to help Todoroki and Koda in the windstorm zone. And who said their quirk wasn't all that amazing? Takuru says. Shush. She says with a grin. It got a chuckle out of both of them. Hey lovebirds. You both alright? Shinji comes over to check on Takuru and Senri. Stop calling us that and yeah. Senri held her own in the windstorm zone. Takuru says. You already heard about what happened with those big villains? Why? Anyways. I'm gonna go say hello to a few others. I wonder what happened with Uraraka. I was a bit worried about her. Senri says. It makes sense, since they became friends over the past few days. Hey, I think Yui really likes 13. Maybe you should invite Uraraka over to my orphanage, and we can introduce them to each other. Takuru suggests. Alright, but only if I come. And maybe I'll see if Midoriya can get healed up first to come as well. Senri says before walking over. Surprisingly, she first goes say hello and talk to Todoroki. Seriously, Takuru. When are you gonna take a step forward? Shinji says before stretching and yawning. There's no step forwards to take. And besides, we just came out of that situation. Takuru retorts. You'd have fooled me if you didn't scream her name so loudly. Shinji begins the teasing. Come on. I was just scared, alright? Takuru defends himself. Yeah, but that's why you're braver than most. You do just about anything to go protect others, no matter how scary it is. Seriously, you're just like Midoriya, except not nearly as self-destructive. Who knows though? If you were like him, you'd probably be hurting yourself way more. Shinji says, drawing comparisons. Following that, the detective from before returns with a member of the police force. Let's get these students back to the main campus. They've been through a lot, and we don't need to question them right away. He says. Tsu leaps a bit forward. Detective, what about Mr. Aizawa? Tsu asks, with concern. CRP, so much was happening I forgot. The detective pulls out a recording. The bones in his arms are splintered and he's got facial fracturing. Fortunately, there doesn't seem to be any serious brain damage. But his orbital floor has been almost completely destroyed. We have no way of knowing if his eyesight will be impaired once he's healed up. Ribbit? Tsu replied with, damn it. If only we were faster. Shinji clenched his fists. Sir, what about 13? Ashido asks. There's no need to worry there. Despite some pretty bad lacerations to the back, 13's gonna pull through, good as new. There was relief from several students. And All Might is also without any serious injuries. He's in the nurse's office right now, but Recovery Girl's recovery power should be all he needs. What about Deku? Uraraka asks, a bit louder than normal. She was obviously very worried. How's Midoriya? I'd also asks. Midori's, Recovery Girl is taking care of him too. He's fine. The detective responds. Oh, thank goodness. Uraraka and everyone else was relieved at that. Now, let's get you back to class. Okay. Sansa? The detective turns to the cat officer. I still have some business in the nurse's office. I'll leave this to you, Kay? Sir, the cat officer said with a surprisingly mature voice. He even has a bell. Kirishima moves to get Bakugo. Come on, man, we're going back to class now. Yeah. I heard him, idiot. Bakugo turns away from the USJ and rejoins the class. Takuru's log, first act. And so, we all return to UA High. We were all so tired from the battle. We survived, but it was so difficult. We felt worry, grief, and at the end of it all, hope. Once I left the school that day, I felt inclined to look towards the falling sun. Tomorrow, the rising sun would come once more. And that would mean another day to improve at my own quirk. My own abilities. So, if you've read this far, then allow me to introduce to you to a new story. This is the story of how I, Takuru Miyashiro, became etched into history as not the greatest hero in the world, but one who received the greatest quirk of all time and pulled through to discern it, standing side by side with my friends, my love, and as I'm sure you're most interested in if you're reading this journal, my best friend, Izuku Midoriya. Act 1. Understand. Midoriya came out of the front gate. Uraraka reacted first. Deku. He's all right. Thank goodness. It was now night. Takuru, Senri, Uraraka, and Ida all agreed to wait for Midoriya. When he came closer to the four of them, he seemed to be overjoyed. He probably wasn't used to the prospect of having so many friends waiting for him. It's good to see you're awake. There's actually something we wanted to talk to you about, Senri said. Huh. Midoriya was a bit confused by that. Miyashiro and Minamisawa invited us to Miyashiro's place. It's an orphanage, and he thought it'd be nice if the three of us would come over tomorrow, Ida explains. Takuru seemed a little bashful from that. Oh, that sounds great. Wait, orphanage? Midoriya caught on. It's a bit of a touchy subject. It'd mean the world if... Senri tried to say, but was swiftly interrupted. Oh, that's fine. Miyashiro can talk about it when he wants to, Midoriya says, getting a bit of relief from Miyashiro. Thanks, Midoriya. You're a good guy, you know that? Takuru says. Huh, you really think so? Midoriya scratches the back of his head. Yeah, absolutely. You can do some really cool heroic stuff. You should be proud, Deku. Uraraka says with a bit of cheer in her voice. Takuru chuckled and smiled, looking up to the dark sky, brightened by the moonlight. Even if this was only the start of things to come. He has people he can call friends to fight alongside with.